Boom, 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 boom. We're at it again. Let's see how many people we can get today. Believe it or not, there's probably at least 2 people to convert who end up converting in the long run, I guess, to Judaism every episode. So like and share, like and share, like and share. Whether you're on YouTube or TikTok, that's how we do it. Hold on. Let me adjust my camera here. All right, guys. Like we do every other, I guess it's been every day now, except Shabbos. Judaism is better. And you know what? You could become Jewish. This is my contribution to humanity. I sensitize people with Torah ethics by convincing them that they should at least look into Judaism, because truth be told, Judaism is not for everyone, at least how they are. Some people have to square themselves away a little more to begin some sort of conversion process. So yeah, talking about conversions, for those of you guys who can't convert, we do conversions the first Sunday of every month here in South Florida. Just hit me up and get my number on my website, TorahJudaism.org. First Sunday of every month for free. And we marry you for free also if you're married. We go through the whole, Hatafastam, everything done according to halacha. But yes, it would benefit you guys to go to your local synagogue first and go that route, right? And second and third. I only really convert people who don't live in Jewish communities or near Jewish communities. Hi, hello, welcome. Yehudi. Let's see. So like we do every day, we talk about Judaism, and we dialogue with Christians, Muslims, and Jews in particular. As a matter of fact, if you request on as a Jew, you get on first, just because I expect you guys to know something. First guest of the day.
Hey, how's it going?
Hi, how's it going?
It's going good, man. Are you Spanish, by the way? Are you like a Latino?
Yes, I am.
So you're like a Latino Jew?
I converted to Judaism like 25 years ago. So my
Do they
family
accept you? I don't even think they probably don't even accept you as a Jew though.
Well, converts are accepted to the point that we're even given free citizenship in Israel. I lived in Israel for 5 years because I converted. Most people that you meet are probably converts and you don't even know. But yeah. No, what you would think, because there are people running to convert because Jews kind of keep it a secret, that when someone does convert, they're not accepted. But it's actually not true. I mean, it's actually a rule within Judaism that converts are supposed to receive special treatment, which meaning in a positive sense, even though that's not always the case, it's for sure a thing. Yeah.
What kind of special treatments? What?
Well, there's many legends and tales in rabbinic literature that teach that God loves converts more than born Jews, because if you're born anything, it seems that you were pre-programmed to walk down that path. But a convert came because pure sincerity, he just loved God and he wanted to do the right thing.
So wait, let me ask you, how long did it take you to convert?
It took me about 3 years to convert.
What? You waited 3 years just to become a Jew?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it paid off. It typically doesn't take that long.
How? Do you own the media? You don't own anything right now. You're on TikTok Live. Like the real Jews are the ones making money, and you're just on a TikTok Live.
Yeah, well, I mean, you'd be surprised. Most religious Jews are actually not wealthy. Those who are disproportionately represented in the media are like irreligious Jews, like atheistical Jews.
Nah, they got a lot of money, man. These Jews. So what do you think about Israel and Palestine then?
I think that it should go to whoever's willing to fight and die for it. That's it.
What?
Yeah.
But what if one has like big guns and the other one just has rocks? Then who should it go to?
Well, the other ones, i.e. the Palestinians, don't just have rocks. They have the EU, and basically the vast majority of the countries on this planet outside of the U.S. support Palestine in many, many different ways. Defunding
because it's an apartheid going on, right? Because Israel's
not at all. I mean, I don't know, like if you're familiar with at least South African apartheid, but in Israel, there's even Palestinians in the Knesset. There's Palestinian judges. This is not apartheid. How many Jews sit in any government body amongst the Palestinians? Zero.
But they're being displaced from their homes. They're being shipped away from their actual homes that they actually live in, and there's actually laws in place that give Jews more rights than Palestinians. It's not a lie. It's not something that's like unknown. That's the reason why many
No,
people
for sure. Okay.
consider.
So that's not apartheid, by the way. Only because someone happens to have more rights, for sure.
Brother, what's the
Palestinians cannot fight.
what's the definition of apartheid?
Wait. When you're talking about more rights, you mean that Palestinians aren't allowed to serve in the military, right?
Brother, what's
Now,
the definition of apartheid?
well, there is no set definition. There are
Yeah,
examples.
there is, brother.
Wait. Hold on. There's examples of what apartheid was, right? I mean, if you
Okay.
want one definition, I mean, for apartheid, you're not going to find it. That example was South Africa. Now, anyone who lived through apartheid during South Africa and has visited Israel knows that you're cheapening the term, because Israelis are not like the South Africans, before Mandela. So, do they have equal rights? No, Palestinians do not have equal rights from the average Israeli. Now, some Palestinians have more rights than other Palestinians. These are the docile ones, the ones that are not trying to fight Israelis. There are Palestinian Israelis. I'm pretty sure you know this. Not all Palestinians live in what you guys call the West Bank.
Yes, I know that.
Yeah. But and that being said, Palestinians have the higher standard of living of any Arab in that region. So anyways, this is not about politics. I don't really care about politics. I support Israel, not for religious reasons. I want it to remain secular, because I don't like many of the religious people who are in Israel that involve religion with politics. But I'm not saying that it should, go to the Jews. I'm saying that it should go to whoever's willing to fight for it. That's it. And
Yeah, but you can't hand somebody a gun, and you can't hand somebody a rock and says, okay, here's a fair fight. Like that's just actually
interesting. So when the British partitioned Israel or Palestine at that time, it was the Palestinians and the surrounding Arab countries that attacked little Israel. And it was these Arab countries that had the tanks and had the jets and had the rockets. Israel had
and then
nothing.
Israel got funded by America.
Not back then, not in 1947. It was much, much later that they received the French, support from the Czechs, the French, and America. But this is after 67. I'm talking about 47, 48. So in the beginning, who was helping Israel? It's just for some reason. Anyways, I don't want to bash on. This show is not about politics. You can be anti-Israel and still convert to Judaism, by the way, because the state of Israel has existed.
But wait,
you
you do know, like, Israel has always had support from America. Like, that's not true.
What? Israel was founded as a socialist country. It first had the support of the Soviet Union.
Okay, and who gave Israel? Who gave the Jews Israel?
The British.
And you're telling me that they gave the Jews Israel and said, "Here you go, now you fight for yourself"?
No. There was Jewish Palestine and Muslim Palestine. Just like there was Hindu India and Muslim India. This is how the British left it. And the Jews were happy with their piece of land. It was the Arabs that weren't happy having Jews among them, and it was the Arabs that attacked the Jews. I mean,
that's not true. Actually,
the
Arabs actually were very welcoming, just like they're welcoming of Christians. Why is there no
not
hostility
nationalistic
between?
Arabs.
Wait, hold on. Why is there no hostility between the Christian Palestinians and the Muslim Palestinians?
Because the Christian Palestinians have no land of their own.
No, but you just said that the reason they didn't want Jews in their land, but there was Christians always living in Palestine alongside with Muslims without any problems. And you said that the Arabs had a problem with just Jews but not Christians?
I said that I didn't say they didn't want Jews in their land. They didn't want a sovereign nation that wasn't controlled by Arabs in that region.
And right now, look what's happening. Palestinians are being displaced from their homes.
But you keep on, moving the goalposts.
Is that true or not?
I answer all your questions, and then you just keep on trying to trap me in some other way.
Because you're being disingenuous. You're not being genuine.
I'm being very genuine. So you acknowledge that the issue is not that Muslims hate Jews. The issue is that in that region, Muslims can't tolerate anyone having any sovereignty who's not Muslim. That's the argument. I mean, I never said that Christians or that Muslims inherently hate Jews.
Okay, so answer me this. Are Palestinians being displaced from their homes? Yes or no?
So I myself was a settler. It depends what you consider their home. After 1967, when they
basically
left their home, right, voluntarily, because they were planning for the Arab nations to come in and wipe out Israel. That's when they lost the West Bank. They lost control of Jerusalem, right? So in terms of being displaced from their homes, there's a lot of Palestinians who are squatting in ancient Jewish homes in regions.
Ancient Jew? Do you hear yourself?
For sure. I mean, ancient
Brother,
meaning
do you hear
that the
yourself?
Jews
You're
purchased
literally
these lands.
like, that's disgusting.
All right, okay.
He called himself
Look,
a
this show is
settler.
not about. Anyways, fine. Yeah, no. So the understanding for a Palestinian to think that there's no ancient land in Israel. I'm not talking about from biblical times, but Jews have always had portions of Hebron. There was the Slobodka Yeshiva that was massacred in the 20s in Hebron. There was lands and portions of land that belonged to Jews even before the partition in 48. Welcome, Trucker's Life 74.
Hey, how you doing?
Hi, good.
I'm kind of listening on what you're trying to say, but you guys don't never say the truth, man. Always say the truth. And I think they should unite the country.
Don't make this about politics, man. I mean,
you know what I'm saying?
Let's talk about religion.
You're saying that people left their homes? No, they didn't leave their homes. I'm an American, all right?
In 1967,
they disrespect Americans. Israelis disrespect Americans, my friend. They disrespected me as an American over there, and they spit at my passport.
Okay, that's actually a lie. Israelis love Americans. It's silly. Now, if somebody goes with hostility, yelling at them, calling them occupiers, then of course they're not going to be treated welcomely. Who was the Jew that himself wasn't allowed in Israel? Was it Norm Finkelstein? All right. So even Jews who don't support the state of Israel, why should the state of Israel kowtow to them and just treat them nice? Anyways, this show is not about politics, but I could debate Israel. I just don't care to. All right. So let's see. Our mikvah, our mikvah, I can't read that. Okay. Why Europeans come to Arab countries. Okay. You don't listen to the facts. You just ramble off. I mean, I don't know their time through. The host is rejecting my request. Of course, because you just want to talk about Israel-Palestine. There's enough shows on here on that topic, isn't it? So, and it's the reason, I'll tell you, there's so many Jews arguing Israel-Palestine is because it's such an easy argument to make. It's such an easy, it's so easy to destroy these false Palestinian claims. Okay, I mean, it's not difficult. You know what is difficult? Trying to in some way explain Jewish law, right? Because no one does this on TikTok, unfortunately. I mean, there's a lot of Christians talking about the Old Testament or whatever they call Tanakh. But in terms of Jewish law, balancing that and responding to Muslims and Christians from a theological perspective, that actually takes studying. Okay, and not to toot my own horn. But yes, Israel-Palestine, there's enough channels that speak about that. But I know why they rather talk to me about it, because they know that I'm not going to yell at them, and I'll let them speak. And as long as they let me respond. So yeah. It's just, Judaism isn't better. You're slow. I don't know what that means. How do you feel about Karaite Judaism? I don't like it. What do you think about the Book of Enoch? I view the Book of Enoch like I view the New Testament. That means if any book brings you closer to God and doesn't get you to violate the Torah, then, go for it. I don't care. You just kicked 2 of them. What does that mean? I kick a lot of people out of this show, right? Is this just like an open platform for people to just rant? Not true at all. The goal is to dialogue with the host, right? My main goal is to educate you guys. Why is Judaism better for you? Well, I mean, I clearly can't just respond to that. You have to give me more or hop on. Guys, if there's a challenge that has nothing to do with politics, hop on. Let's dialogue. Rabbi, I have a question. Just ask the question. Oh, guys, like and follow. Like the show, follow the host. Boom, boom. The more you like it, the more views we get. I mean, the more interesting, the more the riffraff. Thoughts on the Apocrypha. I don't care. The notion of divinely inspired text, as the way Christians understand canonization, is not a Jewish principle. There's many books that Jews didn't canonize that they appreciate very much, like the Book of Maccabees, Ben Sira. Heck, the bulk of rabbinic literature wasn't canonized, and still, if a Jew drops it on the floor, he'll pick it up and he kisses it, right? Because wisdom is wisdom, knowledge is knowledge. But to say that everything, only because certain books were sanctioned by the rabbis, anything that appears in the book, it's like God uttered it, that's a completely primitive approach to literature in general. I was just listening to a shiur where the rabbi said that the consensus in the Talmud is that, was it Divrei Hayamim, which is the book of Chronicles, was written by Ezra. Right, this is the consensus of the rabbis in the Talmud, which were basically the same rabbis who canonized scripture. So if Ezra wrote Divrei Hayamim, which is the book of Chronicles, you guys are quoting. I mean, I don't think a Christian cares who wrote it. They're convinced, and not just Christians, Karaites and some Jews also, they're just convinced that it's all the word of God, and it's such a simplistic approach to God, right? I mean, you choose not to think, you choose not to care who wrote what book. And there's many books that many of you guys elevate that we don't even know who wrote. Let's stick to the book that we could at least all agree on as monotheists or ethical monotheists, that actually came from God. And that's at least the commandments that appear in that section we call the Torah. That's it, just the commandments. It's so much easier. What requirements do you think that are important before converting someone? Well, I'll tell you what, according to Jewish law, there are no major requirements. Conversions were done immediately before, and then people were taught otherwise. I'm not saying that's ideal. I'm just telling you what the law actually is. But I think it's good for someone to know what they're getting into. The average person who comes to me to convert, they have been living some form of Judaism to some extent, right? So they have some knowledge. It's not like, I don't know, some guy just fell in love with a girl and he wants to convert tomorrow. But even according to the Rambam, there's no major requirement. He doesn't even mention being what's called mekabel mitzvot, like accepting the commandments. You just have to tell them some of the laws, and and then you just repeat it to them a second time when they're already in the water. This is what the halacha is. This is how it appears in Shulchan Aruch. But yeah, I mean, I'm all for people studying before they convert. Okay, is the Jewish Messiah here? No, he's not. Is the Tur Sephardi or Ashkenazi? Well, they're both. I mean, he's both. Rabbi Asher, which is, he was the son, I believe, the son of the Rosh. So the Rosh was half Sephardi, half Ashkenazi. So, let me see. He came from Sepharad, I believe. No, right. He came from Sepharad, and then he ended up in I don't know if it was France or Germany. So it's a little bit of both. What prophecy have been fulfilled in Judaism? It's interesting. What Christians call prophecies, I do not consider prophecies. I believe that almost everything a Christian calls a prophecy in what they call the Old Testament either already occurred or expired. So we're not waiting for any prophecy to occur, at least the way I teach it. No prophecy. That's it. Redemption is not prophecy. That's a formula. Sin, exile, redemption, that's a formula. You don't need a prophet to tell you that if you get your act together, God's going to bring you back to Israel. Let's see. What do you think will happen when the Messiah will come? I don't know. I don't really care. But I'll tell you what different rabbis teach. Some rabbis teach that people are going to stop dying. The Messiah is going to live forever. The resurrection of the dead is going to occur. I don't believe in any of that stuff. Maimonides is of the opinion that nothing's going to change during the Messianic age, which is more how I hold. This is also made famous by Rav Shmuel in the Gemara. He was an Amara who said that nothing changes during Yemot HaMashiach, with the exception that Israel is going to have sovereignty over themselves, to study and just live in peace. And that's it. And of course, that's not perpetual. If Jews sin and they screw it up, they're going to go into exile again. So there's no monolithic understanding of who the Messiah is supposed to be, what the Messianic age is supposed to look like in Judaism. I know. I get it. There's many rabbis, counter-missionary rabbis, just repeat the same stuff over and over again. And people who know only that form of Judaism, what they learn from Jews for Judaism or Tovia Singer, you can tell because they quote it like, well, Jews believe this. And, they try to speak for all Jews, but they're just quoting these two guys that, in my opinion, aren't, if they are very knowledgeable, they keep on just peddling one rendition of a certain topic over and over again. And it's just because they want to win a debate with Christians. But there's no monolithic understanding on anything regarding the Messiah in Judaism. Nothing. Okay, I think the whole world should be put in exile. That's how the world is going. Well, how can the whole world be put in exile? I mean, exile means you're outside of your land, right? Oh, you mean like on another planet? What do you think of Yosef Karo and the Maggid, an angel talking to him? Same as the Mormon guy. Yeah, so you're thinking of Maggid Misharim, right? Maggid Misharim, right? So Rav Yosef Karo wrote a book. It's kind of freaky, that like some sort of spirit came over him, right? A Maggid, essentially like a teaching spirit, but according to what it says in a sefer, that it was the spirit of the Mishnah, I believe. It was the Mishnah in spirit form that possessed him and caused his hand to move and start writing. I don't endorse these Kabbalistic notions, but the notion of a Maggid was very famous in the times of the Arizal. And I think it's like kind of very, very twisted. Yeah, it's called Maggid Misharim. That's the name of his sefer. And I think it's wacky. I'm not into Kabbalah. I mean, I'm more of a Rambam guy. So also, I mean, not just that. I mean, Shabtai Tzvi also had a Maggid. I think the Arizal also had a Maggid. That means they would get possessed by spirits or some crap like that. Most people don't talk about this. I'll talk about it because I don't like whitewashing Judaism. That's for sure part of Judaism. It's not part of Torah, but Judaism is what the religious Jewish people practice. So yes, it's a twisted idea. Okay, let's see. What if I am Judeo-curious? That sounds okay. Please explain why Judaism is better. Oh my gosh. It's not that easy. I mean, you guys have to come up here and challenge me with something. Okay, trans. I don't know what that means. Judaism is better. It's not all personal belief. Rabbi, you have no respect. What's that even mean? It's interesting. The same people who will come on here and argue Israel for an hour, right? Israel-Palestine for an hour, which is really a form of proselytizing for the state of Israel, have an issue with me proselytizing Judaism. It's like, it make no sense. Not to mention there is no source, like my wall says here. There's no source in Judaism says that proselytizing is bad. Anyways, guys, like the show, follow the host. Like the show, follow the host. And tell all your bulldogs, like your religious bulldogs, to come here and challenge Asher here. Because I guess I'm built for it. Welcome, Maple Fox. Welcome, Biblical Apologetics. You know who you are. Can you talk about Manus Friedman? I have a video on him. I made a video defending Manus Friedman. Talking about Manus Friedman. I sent a few girls to Machon Chana, like in Crown Heights a few years ago. I like Manus Friedman. I like a lot of people that I don't agree with fully. The problem with these hater rabbis who have chosen to attack Manus Friedman on basically a chidush, like his own understanding, his own twist. Everybody puts their little twist on something, like on theology. The difference is some people will say Torah teaches and then they'll give over their idea, right? I mean, he probably does that too, but being that almost everybody does that, what a rabbi shouldn't do just to try to act like he's playing with the big dogs is attack him, right? And I think you guys know who it is, this little weak, little tiny man, Yaron Reuven, who attacks every rabbi he disagrees with just to whatever, but he won't debate him, right? I mean, if you're going to attack and debate, then whatever, bevakasha, go for it, but if you're going to attack and not debate, that's like some gay crap. So I like him. I mean, I think he's brought a lot of people to religion, and I'm a rational Jew, but I know being rational is not for everybody. I mean, some people have to be mystical. Some people are more mystically inclined than they are rational, so that's fine. what's his big claim that people attack him on, that God needs you? I don't think I disagree with that idea. I think God needs you to be squared away. God needs you to be good. God, it's not, it's funny. The rabbis who attack other rabbis, they will side with, let's say, rabbis like the Rambam, who they don't agree with the Rambam. The Rambam, disagrees with the whole ideology, but they'll pick and choose rabbis who happen to agree with a specific topic just to throw that person under the bus. Even though the Rambam would have considered them heretics as well. But anyways, how to read the Talmud. Skip the Talmud. Go into Mishneh Torah. This is what the Rambam wrote in the beginning of Mishneh Torah. Like in Mishneh Torah, in the Hakdama, he writes that now that I have codified halakha in 14 volumes, you no longer have to study Gemara. Meaning the purpose of studying the Talmud, the Mishnah, and the Gemara, was to find out what the law was, the actual halakha l'maaseh. But now that we have codified Jewish law, that means, what's a codification? It means that the Rambam had an understanding, a Masorah, of what was a law and what wasn't a law. So he hopped in there and he stripped away all the midrashim, and he only left the law and he put it in a book called Mishneh Torah. So this is why there's no point in studying Talmud anymore unless you're trying to learn how to argue, which is a waste of time, especially if you've come late to the game. If you're a convert, you have to stick with source material. What's source material? Plain halakha and Torah Shebiktav. That's it. All right. I've said probably more controversial things in the last 5 minutes than, Well, someone says I ramble a lot. Guy, I have to keep this interesting, right? If you guys hop on here, then I have someone to talk to. But dead air doesn't get you views. Okay, Manish Friedman has extremely different views to Orthodox Judaism. What does that even mean? That's actually not true. If you study Hasidut, which I'm not a fan of Hasidut, you'd realize that what he says is not out of this world. Okay, he may have different views to the Mishnah What is the Orach Chaim? Well, the Orach Chaim is a commentator. Orach Chaim is also a portion of like of Shulchan Aruch. I don't know what your question is. User 227-826, whatever. I think a lot of Jews are atheists now. Yeah, the latest poll is that 54% of born Jews identify as atheist. Unfortunately, have you reached out to Manish Friedman? No. He doesn't seem like someone I'd need to debate because he's too mystically inclined. There's some Messianics that I've also chosen not to debate because, I debate things that I consider that everyone would consider as source material. No one is going to say the Arizal is source material or the Zohar or Kabbalah, right? You could have 5 Mekubalim and 10 different opinions. It's all over the place. In terms of halakha, that you can argue. Now, there's some ambiguous halachot, fine. But I only argue things that don't change. And I guess under the guise of what they call Pardes, Kabbalah is always changing. Yeah, so 55%. So I heard it was 54%. There's a website called simpletoremember.com, and it has this poll. Simpletoremember.com. Is the Orach Chaim, I don't know what you mean by Orach Chaim. The Gadol, the Orach Chaim, is or the portion in Shulchan Aruch that deals with prayer and what you do today. I had a friend who was, I guess to use a Yiddish word, an Einikel of the Orach Chaim. He's buried. I think the Orach Chaim is also buried on in the Mount of Olives. Yeah. No, there's a lot of rabbis. Okay, Rabbi, what's your opinion on Rabbi Tovia Singer? I met Tovia Singer a few times because I worked in the Old City for. I still work for him, for a rabbi named Jeff Seidel, and we would get him to speak at our student center. But I'm talking about maybe 16 years ago, and I think that the counter-missionary movement is a waste of time and a waste of money because these guys inflate their budget by always trying to scare people into saying that Christians amongst Jews are in some way in imminent danger, which is not true. It's not. Look, I don't want Jews to convert to Christianity. Right? unless their alternative is atheism. But do you know how many religious Jews convert to Christianity? I've never met one. I mean, I have met one that became Messianic. One out of, and I know a lot of Jews. It's, I think the money is more well spent reaching out to unaffiliated Jews. But to fight counter-missionaries, if you donated money to Jews for Judaism or Tovia Singer, you've wasted your money. And that's a problem when people refuse to get regular jobs and make the ministry their sole source of income. Okay, because it's a fake war. It doesn't exist. Yeah, fine. I've seen Jews convert to Islam. I've never seen a religious Jew convert to Islam. Well, there's one religious Jew. His name is Yosef something, and there's videos of him on YouTube. But he's whatever. Clearly, if someone converts out of your religion, everyone's going to say he's nuts. But whatever. I think this guy may actually be nuts. Okay, let's see. Only rabbi to me is Jesus. Okay. If more atheist Jews, then is less support for Israel. Yeah, obviously, yeah. No, this is why it's better, and this is probably the most controversial thing I say here on TikTok. That look, I don't separate the world between Jew and Gentile. Okay, I just don't. I separate the world between decent people and people who are not decent. I believe that what makes you decent is Torah observance, and by the simple fact that Christians keep more Torah than atheists do, I think God agrees with me that it's better if a Jew is not going to become observant and wants to remain an atheist, it's better if that Jew at least become an ethical Christian or an ethical Muslim. Rabbi, did you ever get to know Rabbi Aryeh Kaplan? I'm not that old, by the way. I mean, I think Rabbi Aryeh Kaplan died in the early 90s, I think. I think he was 35 when he died. Great Kabbalist, extremely bright guy. But no, I never met him. I've seen videos of him, like old videos. Let's see. All right. Guys, like the show. Follow the host. Like and follow. Like, tap it, like, tap this. Tap. Tap. Right. Tap. All right. Are you a Zionist rabbi? No, I am not. That doesn't mean I'm an anti-Zionist. It means I'm a non-Zionist. I would say that most Orthodox Jews are not Zionist. Yeah, for some reason they think if you're not anti the state of Israel, you're for the state of Israel. No, there's non-Zionists, which means that we tolerate the state of Israel. We don't say Hallel during Yom Ha'atzmaut. We don't say the Tefillah LeMedina, the prayer for the state of Israel on Shabbat. But we enjoy the fact that there's a falafel and shawarma shop in every corner and whatever, all the big prestigious yeshivas are in Yerushalayim. But that doesn't mean that we endorse the government from a religious perspective. Did Jews change their God to please other religions? Why would they do that? Well, yeah, okay. I forget I said that. Yes, they would do that. But no, I don't believe they did. Let's see. Tap where? No, you just tap on the screen. Yeah, just like tap on the screen anywhere, and it's like you like the show. I don't think I can like my own show. And then I try it. Where's everybody at, bro? Sometimes I creep on people's lives when they're talking about Judaism to see what they say about me. My name always comes up, and they're like, that Asher, he's fake. That Asher is this. And I'm like, all right. I'm going to be on soon. And these guys don't hop on and dialogue with me. It'd be so easy to put me in my place. Rabbi, what is your opinion? Blank. Okay. Can an atheist become a Jew? Unfortunately, yes. Becoming a Jew doesn't mean that you're becoming closer to God or anything like this. It's a legal procedure. There's many people who convert to Judaism for marriage, and it's a legal conversion. The person's legally Jewish. That doesn't mean they're in a covenant with God. So yes. Why would I become Jewish? Well, I don't know. Why would you? What's this? Oh, I ain't creeping on you, girl. All right. Being that no one's hopping on here, I'm just going to start throwing people in. This is like Cancun, and you're going to toss in the water. All right? Imagine if we did conversions like that. Let's see. Peace be upon you all. Welcome, Fox Vendetta. Hey, Biblical Apologetics, I've heard of you. Oh,
yeah, I've heard of you too.
Swarbell Investments. Welcome.
What's up?
Hi.
Thank you.
Where are you located, Swarbell?
Born in Georgia. Moved around, lived in Norway for just a little bit. Been to a few countries, not too many, but I'm in Missouri now at this time.
Okay, cool. Well, I'm in South Florida.
South Florida, man, I'm jealous of you.
Yeah, well, yeah,
I'm
in Fort
Miami.
Lauderdale. No,
Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Fort Lauderdale's nice.
Yeah. What's that song? The Johnny Cash song? I've been everywhere, man. I've been everywhere. I've also been almost everywhere. So you are a Christian, Muslim. You don't look Puerto Rican. Jewish.
Me?
Yeah.
No. I guess faith-wise, I'm agnostic. Grew up Protestant. My sister is Messianic Jew. There's some DNA there that's with that. But yeah, I'm pretty much agnostic. I talk to Ray a lot. Ray that's comes on your live. He was on your live last night.
Oh, Reuben?
No, not Reuben. I talked to him as well, but I talk more with Ray than I do Reuben. Reuben's a little bit more conservative than I am in a lot of ways. Respectfully so, but it is what it is.
All right. Yeah, no, I like agnostics, but are you a pessimistic agnostic or an optimistic agnostic?
Oh, now, pessimistic and optimistic in what way?
That you may not be convinced that God exists, but you really love what God has done in many people's lives, so like you appreciate the fact and maybe one day wish that you could be convinced of the existence of this good God.
I'm torn on that, actually, because in some ways I think that belief in a God creates a lot of psychosis in a lot of people, but there's a lot of people that have benefited greatly, from, let's say, as simple as, let's say, quit smoking cigarettes to quit smoking things that are a lot worse than cigarettes, if you know what I mean.
Smoking crack. So I think the crazy people you find in religion, like if they didn't belong to one of the three major monotheistic religions, well, they'd be crazy elsewhere, right? I mean, you can't fix crazy. For some reason, yes, religion draws in a lot of crazy people, but can you imagine what they'd be doing if they didn't have church? They'd be crazier, right? So I argue more for the need of a good God instead of arguing for the existence of God. Because there's many atheistical individuals in the Jewish world that they put their kids in religious schools because studies show that people who grow up with some ethical, code, they're more benevolent, they're better people for the most part, right? So I think on that point alone, it's good to at least raise your kids with a belief system that's palatable to you, then, I don't know, when they become something that you dislike, like a Hare Krishna or something.
Well, I'm definitely not the psychologist or psychiatrist, so I don't have any stats to prove anything that I'm saying. But I would wonder if, like you said, if they would become that way anyway. Would they become good people just because they're good people and not necessarily because of a belief in a God?
Yeah, so I don't think it works that way. In terms of nuttiness, I mean, nutty people could be in some way made to be docile and nutty, but I think you have to train people to be good. I believe everyone's born with a basic sense of morality. I don't believe the Bible is there to make you good. I believe it's there to make you better. So it's that basic sense is there to at least get you into some stable ethical belief system that's going to drag you the rest of the way. So being that we have seen the track record of societies that try to reinvent the wheel ethically, like the Soviet Union, and that when they try to reinvent biblical ethics, they only leave a trail of blood and carnage. And I don't want it to be like that. I mean, I want to have hope in humans that we could figure out our ethics on our own, but we haven't been able to do it. It seems that with societies that are more religious or in some way built off the Bible are more ethical than those that are not. I'm not saying they're perfect. I'm not saying the Bible's perfect. In life, the choice is not between what's perfect and what's horrific, but between what's good and what's better. So with that standard, I mean, I think it's better for you to raise your kids with some ethical belief system to at least give them a good start in life.
Well, I would definitely agree with that. I just don't see necessarily that a God is necessary for that ethical belief system. I mean, if you look at Satanism as an example, I believe their 9 statements and 11 laws are very ethical in nature. Simple things like don't harm children, be respectful when you go to people's houses, stuff like that. Yeah. And I mean, even though that's a joke religion as it is, and they blatantly will tell you I guess they're starting to get divided as well. But I mean,
yeah, but it's based off the Bible. So sure. You know that? If it wasn't for Christianity, there wouldn't be Satanism. So
right, that's true. That's true.
Have to pay tribute to the Bible as well.
Yeah, I mean that's true. I mean they did it as a
joke,
stab back. Yeah.
A Jewish guy, by the way. Anton LaVey.
Yeah. So back in, I think it was 1988, I went into a bookstore and I opened up the Satanic Bible and it said, what's good is bad and what's bad is good. So I stole the book.
That's what's up. All right. And now you can just download it. For free.
Right. But I'm not trying to hijack your live. I just guess that you're asking me questions now.
No, thank you for being respectful. All right, so we have obviously Avi. So Jews get on first. Just because, I mean, I think they dislike me more than Gentiles. So, I mean, go ahead, Avi.
Yeah, I just got a question. I was under the impression that if you're Jewish, you're not supposed to go out and recruit people to become Jewish.
Yeah.
So I'm just curious how you can be I'm not trying to throw shade at you or anything.
No, that's fine.
I'm just curious how you can be a rabbi and saying you can become Jewish too,
So there's nothing in Jewish law, in halakha, nowhere in the Talmud, nowhere in anything Jewish that says that it's wrong to encourage people to become Jewish. Jews actually used to proselytize. All the major historians, Paul Johnson, Sal O'Barron, heck, even the New Testament talks about Jews proselytizing. Midrashim talk about how Abraham used to seek converts. He converted the men, Sarah converted the women. It was only...
But that was before was before Mount Sinai, before they actually got the Torah, so...
I get it. I mean, it's a medrash to begin with. Okay. So, I mean, it's not taken literally, but the understanding is that he loved God so much, and this is how the Rambam writes it in Sefer Mitzvot, that he wanted the world to love God just as much. So the idea of, in some way, preaching what you practice is not new to us, right? We have to be taught otherwise. So everything I'm saying, trust but verify. But it was Emperor Hadrian who made it a crime in Rome for Jews to seek converts and for people to convert to Judaism, because 10% of the Roman Empire, according to historians, converted to Judaism. And of course, in Galut, in exile, we weren't allowed to proselytize. So because of that, till today, we think that it's not allowed. Also, according to Kabbalah, it sort of changed the reason, I mean, someone even remains Jewish, because it teaches that one can't really convert to Judaism. If you convert, it's because you were Jewish all along. And that the world is separated between Jews and Gentiles, so we don't really want people to convert, because a Gentile's on a lower level and a Jew's on a higher level. It's like the first 2 chapters of the Tanya. So to answer your question, there's nothing in Judaism not in Judaism, because I guess that could be some rabbi talking, but nothing in Jewish law that prohibits encouraging someone to become Jewish. Yeah.
I was
I've
just
got a
under the
question.
impression that you weren't allowed to, because once something's put into place, which again, you said it was put into place basically during the Roman era. Once something in Judaism is put into place, that usually it's put into place to like forever, so to say. Just
No,
like
by Romans, by Emperor Hadrian, not by the rabbis.
you're saying, where do you learn that from? Like, where do you get that information from?
I mean, it's common knowledge. I mean, just type in Emperor Hadrian, conversion, Judaism. It's a known thing. Yeah, it's a known thing. But first of all, you'd have to show where it's prohibited. I mean, assuming that I made all this up. Like, ask your rabbi, where, according to Jewish law or anywhere in rabbinic literature, what does it say that we're not allowed to go out and encourage people to consider becoming Jewish?
But nowadays, would you say most rabbis say it's allowed to?
No.
Basically,
no.
So
Correct.
if most rabbis say it's not allowed nowadays, then according to Judaism, it wouldn't be allowed.
Oh, no, Judaism might doesn't make right in Judaism. For something to be binding as a Jew, it actually has to appear in either the 5 books of Moses or in Halakha. So the end of Halakha is the end of the Sanhedrin, meaning the reason the Talmud is so important for us, because the Talmud is the Mishnah in the Gemara, is because what appears there can't change. We can add to it and we can't take away from rabbinic laws. But if a rabbi comes up with something today, for example, the vast majority of Jews aren't even religious, right? So if might made right, then I guess Jews don't have to keep Shabbat either, because the vast majority of Jews don't keep Shabbat. The vast majority of Jews actually don't even believe in God. So Judaism doesn't change. The only part of Judaism that could have changed was rabbinic Judaism, but that was only under the rubric of the Sanhedrin. The Sanhedrin could change rabbinic laws, but there's no more Sanhedrin. So only because rabbis don't do something nowadays, and I challenge rabbis all day long. I've debated more rabbis than any Jew alive on YouTube. Go on my channel, TorahJudaism.org, under media and debates. And I always challenge them, like, show me anywhere in Jewish law that prohibits what I do. And I would stop doing it. I promise. I would stop encouraging people to become Jewish if there's a halacha that says you're not allowed to do it. But I've been doing this for a pretty long time. So, yeah, I mean, I think it just benefits you to ask your rabbi to give you some sources or something. I mean, there's things that Jews don't do just because they don't do it, but not because it's an actual law. So.
No, I understand. I was under the impression that I wasn't allowed. I mean, not just that, but like, again, if I had to choose, like, I don't want to throw shade at my own religion, but if I had to choose to be not Jewish or be Jewish, again, it's a lot to put on one person to be Jewish. Again, to say like, oh, you can become Jewish, like, even if it's allowed in everything, it's making it sound like, oh, it's something easy, like, oh, anyone can do it. Like, I'm not saying it's a hard thing, but like, I don't know how to explain it. It's like,
no, I get it. I mean, it doesn't make sense either way.
It's 613 rules that like you live every single day. Like every single second of your life is basically dictated by a book, so to say. And saying like, oh, you can do it too is like kind of saying like, oh, it's easy,
Okay. So by the simple fact that you could be born into the religion shows that God is not so picky on who comes in. Okay. Jerry Seinfeld, Larry David, Trotsky, I don't know, Gloria Steinem, Judith Butler, irreligious Jews are just born Jewish, and then for some reason, Jews want to make it so difficult for people to convert. By the simple fact that you could be born Jewish, I'm just repeating it so people could understand, shows that it's not that hard, okay? You could be Jewish, you don't have to be perfect. And most people who convert to Judaism, they come to the religion with some knowledge of the Bible, and they're converting because they want to convert. You didn't choose to be born from a Jewish mother, and most Jews, equally so, they dropped the religion. So, I mean, how is it hard? I mean, it's not, I mean, to be a Jew is not hard. To keep Torah is not hard. I mean, people convert to Judaism because it's beneficial. I think
you're saying it's not hard, but you just said most Jews aren't religious.
No, it's because they didn't choose to be born Jewish. If somebody's choosing to convert to Judaism, right, It means that they have some religious background. They're doing it because they're built for this already. They were keeping laws in their previous religion to some extent. They want this, right? Why should we make it hard for them and for some reason not make it hard for someone who was born Jewish? According to Jewish law, most people don't practice this like nowadays, but if you're a Jew who doesn't practice Judaism, according to Jewish law, you're equivalent to a Gentile. You're still Jewish in the sense that you could marry another Jewish person. And if you lived in the land of Israel, the court could adjudicate you against the Torah or against Jewish law. But that doesn't mean that you're important to God in any way. So that being said, if you view it from that perspective, if you're born Jewish, then it doesn't really matter because you're not Jewish in God's eyes if you don't keep the Torah. You're legally Jewish, but legally Jewish doesn't mean religiously Jewish. So I think that the Torah is there for whoever wants the Torah. And who are we to decide who should be let in or not, right? I mean, it's people's right to become Jewish, in my opinion. Yeah. I mean, I think in this case, quantity trumps quality. But that's my opinion. All right, so let's go through some of these questions. Guys, like the show, follow the host. Do you agree or disagree with Rabbi Yaakov Shapiro? Is Rabbi Yaakov Shapiro the rabbi of Torah True Jews? I think that's right. I mean, he's like an anti-Zionist rabbi, which I think he's extremely smart. But I don't know, like if this is what you're talking about. Okay, let's see. But anyways, there's enough Jews out there that, man, like just take notes like from your rabbi and then come here and challenge me on it. And it's I'm telling you, this is going to be like the next hot thing, right? Remember like the whole little fiddle things, it was a fad for a while. Judaism and becoming Jewish is going to be the next big thing because people, truth be told, are in some way bored with Christianity. Yeah, people are converting to Islam, but they're also getting bored with that. And at least 3 or 4 people a week, just because of TikTok, tell me that they've begun a conversion process just because now they know it was possible. The average person wasn't converting because they didn't know you could convert to Judaism, right? And it's really, Jews, it's their fault by omission because they just stay quiet, right? They stay quiet when they hear Muslims say that Islam is the only universal religion, that Judaism is only for Jews, and they stay quiet, because they have this misunderstanding that they can't encourage their religion, which I'm here to wake them up and say, look, that's not the case. I'll take the bullets. I'll be your personal Jesus Christ, meaning I'll die for your stupidities. But yeah, consider becoming Jewish. And it might not be for you, but just know it's possible. Okay. Because I know a lot of people that I don't want to become Jewish. Okay. But misinformation frustrates me, because it's the basis of atrocities. It means lying frustrates me. People lying. Okay. Ask around. You can find that. Okay. Bro, you say
I've got a thought for you, a question for you.
Yeah.
So in Exodus 11, and I kind of looked it up because it seemed like it was somewhere in my head. So in Exodus 11, 1 through 9, it seems to me that Moses proselytized and before Mount Sinai. This is in leaving the when right before Passover, when he was warning the people. So, it's talking about how, God said, go get gold and silver. Well, he's going to neighbors, not only the Jewish people, but the neighbors that are out there and saying, hey, give me gold and silver. And then it's the people among the Israelites were going to be saved. And he's letting them know that. And then Pharaoh says, you and all the people with you can leave. So it seems that Moses actually did a little proselytizing in Exodus 11, 1 through 9. And I just thought that was, it's a potential, it's a potential that maybe you could look at because they're saying, they don't proselytize, but before Mount Sinai, I think the Abvi said, but I'm wondering if he actually did proselytize before Mount Sinai.
No, for sure. Even the Midrashim, right? So Midrashim are folklore and legend. They have this whole beef with the Erev Rav, right? So the Erev Rav are the mixed multitude. There's some midrashim that teach the mixed multitude were the best and brightest of Egypt, right? And there's some midrashim that say that they were the worst. But
You
there's a
lost
midrash.
me. There's like 4 words there, and I didn't know what none of that was.
Okay, so Erev Rav means mixed multitude, because it says that on Mount Sinai there stood a mixed multitude of peoples who weren't Hebrews, and then they were the Hebrews, and they all accepted the Torah, and they all became Israel. So this mixed multitude of peoples, there are certain legends in Judaism that teach that they were wicked, and there's some legends that teach that they were good. For some reason, the rabbis nowadays just teach them like they're wicked, because everyone they dislike, including yours truly, where they consider them part of the Erev Rav. But there's legends that teach that it was Moses who physically converted the Erev Rav, the mixed multitude, that he proselytized them, and God told him not to do it. This is a legend. I don't believe it. So even our tales teach that Moses proselytized. God himself proselytized, because God is telling the people there, which were the mixed multitude and the Hebrews, telling them, choose life, choose Torah, that by living by these laws, you'd be choosing blessing and life, and by not, you'd be choosing a curse and destruction. So can you imagine if there was like shluchim, like rabbis all over there, they'd be encouraging Israel not to accept Torah, because Israel didn't really become Israel, i.e. important to God, till after they accepted the Torah. And they had the status, by many teach they had the status of like Gerim Toshavim, like Noahides, before they accepted the Torah. So then perhaps Israel should not have accepted the Torah Mount Sinai and just remained righteous Gentiles, right? I mean, why isn't that argument ever made? No, but nowadays they discourage converts. These people don't think. And it's frustrating, because I know I'm not the smartest guy in the world, right? But I've seen some very bright people come up with some stupid ideas. I don't know. It's just like, whatever. I mean, it's like Germans and Angela Merkel always. I like German guns and German cars, but they have the stupid, political movements. Okay, fine. All right. Let's see. Okay.
All right. Well, I've got to get back to work, so take care of yourself. Thank you for your time.
Well, next time you come to Fort Lauderdale, let's have a beer. Next, Fox Vendetta.
Hey, so I'm speaking from Brazil, so I'm sorry if I make some mistakes in my English.
No problem.
A little bit raw, so.
Legal.
So I've been studying. Oh, you speak
con queijo,
a little bit.
brigadeiro. I lived in Sao Paulo for like 2 months.
Cool.
Hey, what part of Brazil are you from?
I'm from Minas Gerais, but it's about 2 hours from Rio.
Yeah, it's in the jungle, right? It's like in the Amazon.
Yeah. I think all Brazil is a little bit in the jungle.
Jungle. Yeah, I've been there also. Yeah,
not too big. So, like 10 years ago, I've been studying the Torah. Like I bought a Torah in Hebrew and Portuguese. So I started studying that, and I was always a Christian, studying Christian schools and Catholic schools, and so I just found out a little bit the story of Jesus was a little bit too much. Some things didn't match up, so found a little bit out of logic and some things like. So I was a little bit skeptical about it. So I decided to go back a little bit. But then I found out too much about how the Jewish community, that could be a wrong idea that I have, but like how they are separatists about people that try to get into religion, and they're like not too much welcome about that. And I think like for you to come to TikTok and do this job, I think it's really good, because it breaks the ice of a thing that should be a good thing for people, I believe, because pursuing a religion, I think it's a good thing. So I congratulate you for that.
All right.
And then I start trying to go a little bit further than the Torah. I decided to download the Talmud and the Yetzirah, the Safiras, and all the books. And to be quite honest, I couldn't understand a thing about it. Like, it's really hard to read and to capture what are they talking about, and
For Yetzirah,
the Zohar and everything there.
Yeah. Yeah, most people don't come to God, I mean, to use a Christian term, by reading the Talmud. The Talmud's not there for the average man to read. It's there for teachers, or, I don't know, poskim, to, like, people who decide Jewish law to read. I mean, now they read it like a sport, which is kind of ridiculous. They have something called Daf Yomi, and the average person doesn't know what the heck they're reading. They're just flying through it. So if you want to master Judaism, and this is for everybody listening, I'm giving you the tools here how to master Judaism. You could master it, because some people think like, no, you know, was it like Yam HaTalmud, like the Talmud's like a river, or like the ocean or whatever. All right, hold on, I'm getting phone calls here, but every time I get a phone call, it freezes my thing up. The way to master Judaism, don't study the Talmud. Okay. Hold on. If my phone rings again, I'm going to have to take it, because this person's not giving up. Okay. So don't study the Talmud. And this is not just me. The Rambam says this. I mean, the Rambam writes in his introduction to Mishneh Torah, to his codification of Jewish law, he says, now that I have codified all of halakha, you no longer have to study the Talmud anymore. People used to study the Talmud to find out what the Jewish law was for any given day or event or whatever. So all you need to do to really master Judaism, and if you do this, you know more than 99.9% of the rabbis out there, master, i.e. memorize the 5 books of Moses, and master Mishneh Torah of the Rambam. All this exists in English. Why is Mishneh Torah of the Rambam so important? Because he's the only rabbi who's ever codified all of Jewish law. The only rabbi. For those who know what I'm talking about, Shulchan Aruch is incomplete. Even the Rif is incomplete, because the Rif didn't codify Talmud Yerushalmi. The Rosh is incomplete. Only the Rambam includes all of halakha. So what makes you Jewish, or a kosher Jew, is keeping and believing in the 5 books of Moses and keeping halakha. That's it. That's all of Judaism. Everything else is commentary. And that goes for the prophets, that goes for the writings, that goes for the Meforshim, Rashi, all that is, well, I mean, by definition is commentary, right? I mean, he's a commentator. It's just the 5 books of Moses and halakha. And all this, you don't have to waste $1 on, because it's all online. Chabad has like something called Mishneh Torah Yomi, and that if you learn 1 chapter of Mishneh Torah every day, you'll read it all in 3 years. If you do 3 chapters a day, you'll do it all in 1 year. And there's the Parshat HaShavua, which is the weekly Torah portion that, according to halakha, that you're supposed to read twice in Hebrew and 1, whatever. It says Targum, but it means really the common tongue, but some people think it's Aramaic. Fine. That's it. That's all of Judaism. Everything else is secondary and not important. If you master the 5 books of Moses, right, the mitzvot, and halakha, you could build a synagogue. You could be a Torah giant. That's it. Now, of course, you'll have to know some Hebrew, because reading it in English is not going to help you. I mean, it'll help you, but if you're going to have to try to articulate like certain laws and this and that, yeah, I mean, know at least like Yeshiva Hebrew, which is like being able to read and translate. Israeli Hebrew, that's not even important. So that's it. That's the key. If you want a copy of Mishneh Torah in English, like go to Chabad.org. They have it all in English. And the 5 books of Moses, and that's it. And I'm even encouraging you to read the 5 books of Moses without a commentary. That's it. Easy peasy.
Cool.
All right. So let's see. What are you guys talking about in the comments here? It's like non sequiturs. Not wasting $1 is pretty Jewish for sure. Look at that. You see, well, I'm a convert. I mean, I've appropriated being stingy. What's your favorite prophet? What does that even mean? Your favorite prophet? I don't know. Maybe Joseph Smith. I mean, I think Mormons are like the coolest. Aren't Mormons like the sweetest people in the world?
Have you met Dan McClellan?
No, well, I mean, he's a left-winger. I mean, real Mormons. Yeah. No, left-wing Mormons aren't real Mormons. I mean, left-wing religious people are not real religious people. Yeah. Okay. I mean, they're walking contradictions. It's like left-wing Orthodox people. You know, but they vote for a party that supports all these things that are antithetical to Torah, you know, but they're Orthodox Jews. You know, it's like, whatever. All right. Which bank or media outlet do you own? Oh, what colors are Bugatti? I mean, talking about coloring Bugattis. I mean, I have a video with my frustration how Andrew Tate didn't become Jewish and he became Muslim. Truth be told, he'd be very frustrated in the Jewish people because, I don't know. I mean, Jewish men are sort of simpy, at least in America. But I think if he would have become one of my students, right, like my type of Judaism, like masculine, rational, reasonable, purposeful Judaism, right, tooting my own horn, then perhaps he would have liked it. But yeah, I don't know. Rabbi Asher, how can I become Jewish and what is a ceremony? So go to your local synagogue. Don't even come to me. Go to your local synagogue. And as a matter of fact, this is a project for everybody this weekend. This Saturday, 9:45 a.m., drive to your local synagogue, park a few blocks away, right? I mean, I'm assuming you're not Jewish. Leave your phone in your car, walk in, sit in the men's section, try to bring a kippah. You could order one on Amazon, but they have a box there, but you don't want to, you know, like you don't know where, like, they don't wash these kippahs afterwards. If you're a woman, you sit in the women's section. If you're a man, sit in the guys section. Stand when they stand, sit when they sit. After the synagogue, go up, introduce yourself to the rabbi. Don't shake their hand if you're a woman, because guys and women don't shake hands or don't touch in the Orthodox world. And say, look, I'm not Jewish, but I like what's going on here. I mean, is it okay if I just kind of swim by once in a while? And I'm pretty sure 9 out of 10 times they'll be like, sure, why not? Come eat something, da-da-da. Be likable, make friends. And then if you want to convert, enter a conversion program. Assuming you live in a place where they have a synagogue, you could do that this Saturday. Okay? Look it up. Go for it. Is the Lubavitcher Rebbe Mashiach? Obviously he is. Obviously. Where are the chipmunks? What about just obeying the Torah? It's funny. The Rambam writes this in Hilchos Mamrim. He says that anyone who believes that the Torah is true is also obligated to keep rabbinic laws. Because if Jews are going to say that the source of keeping rabbinic laws is from the Torah, and you believe that the Torah is true, then you should be keeping rabbinic laws because of Parshat Shoftim. So to answer your question, why not just keep the Torah? If you just kept the Torah, then you'd be also submitting yourself to the ruling of the sages, of the Shoftim, of the judges. Rabbi Meza, the white at the bottom of the green screen makes it hard to read. Oh, yeah.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, you know, I mean, it's a billboard. I mean, I'm limited in real estate here. Okay. I mean, you put baby in the corner here. So, to quote Patrick Swayze, R.I.P. Okay.
That's a good movie, by the way.
Yeah. You saw that girl. Talking about Jews, so she's Jewish, right? What's her name? Oh my gosh. The girl from Dirty Dancing. Like the girl who had a nose job.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's her name? Whatever.
I don't remember.
Yeah, well, nobody puts her in a corner. Yeah. Roadhouse, another good Patrick Swayze movie.
Jennifer Grey.
That's a Jennifer Grey. Look at that. Huh? Andrew Tate being Jewish. Pretty cool, huh? What color is your kippah? All right. Guys, some questions. Anyone? All right, biblical apologetics. What do you have for me?
I'm just here to grace you with my presence. I don't have anything.
No, but you have something. Yeah, so by the way, I was in that little live, and I heard Mr. Yaakov insult me and call me immoral, which, I mean, okay. I mean, I may be a heretic to some people, but to call me immoral? I mean, come on, please.
Okay, yeah. So, so you were there the whole time?
Yes, I was.
Okay.
Let me see, I could quote some of the things you said. You said, something around the smicha, right? Yeah, I know about that. And then you said, but then you touched with the whole thing that if you found out that your mother wasn't Jewish, would you convert to Judaism?
Yes.
And of course, he said yes, but at the same time, he's against proselytizing.
It was not dumb, Kat. It was a good lie. I don't care what you say, Kat. It was great. It was good for me.
So this is a challenge for everyone out there who's Jewish and is against proselytizing. If you found out that your grandmother wasn't Jewish, would you reconvert to Judaism, or would you take your own advice and remain a Noahide, right? Because this is what they tell Gentiles. Why don't you just remain a Noahide? Idiot. You would convert to Judaism because you know there's benefits to being Jewish. I get the dumbest challenges on this show. You know, like we don't want to tell Gentiles what to do or expect them to change their behavior for the better. Here, for example, there's an episode that it's floating around YouTube of like, I think it's called Young Sheldon, like that show it's like a spinoff of that, like of the Big Bang Theory. That Sheldon, this little scientist kid, wants to become Jewish because he's a big fan of Albert Einstein. Albert Einstein wasn't an atheist, by the way. I mean, he actually like believed in God. So then he calls what's, I think, a Reformed synagogue. And this rabbi, he's like, you don't have to become Jewish. You just have to be you. You know, and for some reason, everyone thought that was this like miraculous answer. Like, what does that even mean? First of all, you don't even know on what level ethically the person who's asking you, can they become Jewish, is, right? What if he's a drug addict? What if he's, I don't know, like mutilate squirrels? You should always assume anyone who's asking you for ethical advice or for you to lead them ethically actually needs to be led ethically. You know, I mean, to assume that people are just fine the way they are is such a stupid, you know, idiotic approach to human nature, okay? If someone wants to convert to your religion, it's because they want to improve. And to say that Judaism has nothing to say on how people should behave or improve their lives on this planet means that you have a broken moral compass. It just does, it's so stupid. And for some reason, nobody challenges Jews when they say this because they don't want to be called, you know, like a follower of the mustache man, right? So it's so stupid. And it's so primitive. For example, well, it's interesting. Jews always think that Gentiles keeping commandments is that we want everyone not to wear shatnez and everyone to keep kosher and everyone to keep Shabbos, right? I mean, laws that seem like for the most part trivial. They're amoral, not immoral. They're just like morally neutral. But how about, you know, kibbud av v'em, like honoring your parents, you know, loving people, you know, burning evil from amongst your midst. The ethical portions, which are just as there's just as many ethical laws as there are ceremonial laws. Oh, well, that you expect a Gentile to keep. So why are you going to make a distinction between those laws and ceremonial laws when God didn't make a distinction himself? So, yeah. Okay. Anyways. I'm going to throw some people in here. Let's see. All right. So Jewish people get on first. Welcome, Real Cat Velez.
Hello.
Hi. Welcome, Rena. I mean, can I use your real name? Oh, I guess that's...
You have to call her user 3233222. That's her name.
Right. No, I didn't know. I mean, if you wanted me to use it.
I don't even know her. I'm joking.
It's like only cops call me that. It's like, you know, like my name is Usher in Israel when I made Aliyah, but in America, my name is George. you know. But everyone calls me Asher. I mean, I work for Jews. I've always been in the Jewish community, you know, because I always say that only Copts, call me George. Because they're the only ones reading my license. But yes, I'm a George with a G, by the way. You know, because there's people who try to insult me, like, oh, he's Hispanic, so, you know, fake Rabbi Jorge or some crap like that. It shows, huh? If I have to met the ger or ger lotone, all that gets tossed out the window when you disagree with somebody. All right. So tell us about yourself, real cat.
What do you want to know? I mean, my name is Kat. I'm a Torah observant Christian.
All right.
I have 4 kids. I live in Florida. You want my social security number?
We're in Florida?
In Orlando.
Oh, nice. I lived in Orlando for a little while. I'm in Florida.
Yeah, I want to move.
I'm in Florida.
I don't like Orlando.
So.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
That's where I was born.
The what?
I was born in Fort Lauderdale.
Oh, cool. All right. Very nice. So I lived, well, in terms of Jewish communities in Orlando, it's very, very slim. But there's one in Dr. Phillips, in Sanctuary, whatever. I mean, that's the only kosher market, that big one, Dixie. But I lived because, I got in a fight with a rabbi there because I was just there for work. So then I moved to this beautiful place. Oh my gosh, I love it. It's called Avalon Park. Hey,
I live like literally 3 minutes from Avalon Park.
It's nice, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm a runner, you know, so I love running through like the woods there, and it's so nice. It's just tons of raccoons. You can't leave anything outside because it gets eaten by raccoons. But apart from that, it's like you're in a movie. The what?
How long ago? Sorry. How long ago did you live here?
5 years ago.
Okay. Yeah, it's a little bit more developed now, but it's still nice.
Yeah, it's so cool. It's just like 30 minutes from where I worked because I was at like off of OBT.
Mm-hmm.
What's up? With the hookers.
Yes, a lot of them.
Yeah, tons of hookers over there. But yeah, Avalon Park, that's what's up. All right, cool. All right, so I used to be a counter-missionary. I'm not anymore. I think my time is better spent getting Christians to become Torah observant. That actually does something for the world, all right? People adhering to some ethical standard that they could point to. So yeah, I think you're on the right track. Do I wish that people didn't believe in Jesus? All right. I wish people didn't believe in Kabbalah either, but what are you going to do?
What's your problem with Jesus?
I like Jesus, by the way. I like him a lot. I just don't think he's God or the Messiah. But I think, just like I like a lot of rabbis too. I like Maimonides. I'd hang out with Jesus. I like Jesus. Yeah. No.
Were you Christian before you converted to Judaism?
Yes, I was.
What made you stop believing in Jesus? Like, why did you stop believing he was the Messiah?
I think that the notion of the Messiah is like an optional belief, honestly. It's a shame that both Christianity and Judaism pay so much tribute to, or not tribute, they push the notion of the Messiah. If you ask the average Jew, what's the purpose of it all? And they're like, Yamat Mashiach, bringing the Messiah and the age of the Messiah. Mashiach doesn't appear in the Torah literally. It could be a figurative, but anything could be figurative. But it seems that the purpose of existence from a Torah perspective is a good God and his ethical will for humanity. That's it.
So what's stopping us from building the third temple
then? Jews getting their act together. You're thinking of Hilchos Malachim, right? You're trying to understand Mashiach apart from what the Chumash has to say on the topic, which is almost zero.
Well, so for me, it's confusing because I've also studied Nevi'im extensively. I've studied all that, but it sort of contradicts in a way because every Jew views prophecies or Nevi'im and like they interpret it differently.
Right.
So I just wanted to hear your thoughts on what would be when Mashiach comes or what it is we're waiting for.
So what stopped us from building, Bayit Sheni? Nothing, right?
That's what I'm saying. Exactly.
Right. So just how they built the second temple, why can't they just build the third temple? So this notion that we could only build the third temple if the Messiah comes is a much, much later invention. First of all, there's no command to build a temple, but the command is to build a Mishkan. All right. A temple is nothing but a Mishkan with a stone base. That's it. It's Jewish mysticism that crept in and messed everything up. Now, I believe in Mashiach, but I believe in Mashiach in the way the Rambam teaches it. Somewhat. I mean, the Rambam believes or teaches that Mashiach is just a king who's eventually going to die and his son's going to take over. It's just a regular king. And if we screw it up, which we will, that we'll go into Galut again. And he says that nothing's going to change during Yamot HaMashiach, with the exception that Jews are going to have sovereignty over themselves and be able to study Torah as long as they stay religious. Now, compare that to what the Ramban teaches about Mashiach and like Mekubalim teach about Mashiach. I mean, that he's never going to die, that he could read your mind, that he can fly. You really can't blame Christians for making him God, okay? With all the embellishments on Mashiach, this is why I'm big on the Rambam, because the Rambam existed before Kabbalah. Kabbalah, with the Zohar, was found in 1270 of the Common Era, right? I mean, no one ever heard of it before. And there's big portions of Rashi in the Zohar. It's in my opinion, it's a big forgery. But the reason that rationalists in the Jewish world go by the Rambam is because he existed before 1270 of the Common Era. The Rambam is from 1135 to 1205. So his understanding of Jewish law is very rational. It's not built on like Shadim and like Ruach Ra and all these weird customs, these ideas like demons and stuff like that appeared later on. So I think that the whole notion of the Messiah is really a later developed idea. And it's whatever. But this is even more heretical. I mean, I think that Techiyat HaMeitim is also a later developed idea because it doesn't appear in the Torah. So Techiyat HaMeitim is the resurrection of the dead. I'm not saying it's bad to believe it, but I don't think you have to believe it. And I know that Yud Gimel Karamuna, the Rambam, his 13 principles of faith, in some way state that you have to believe in it, but who's the Rambam? I mean, the Rambam is a Rishon. I mean, he's not a Tana. I mean, he can't tell us what to do or believe, right? I mean, this is how halacha functions. This is why the Rambam is not in the Gemara, I mean, like we could disagree with the Rambam, and many people did, like the Ravid. There's many people disagree. I mean, they burned his books. I mean, there's many, Rabbeinu Yonah, like who was a teacher of the Ramban.
Well, why do they say that his books were burnt by non-Jews or
nobody says that? No, Jews burned. Yeah, like Jews burned more Nebuchim, not Mishnah Torah, by the way. Well, it was Jews, and that it appears in Shari Tshuva. So the reason Rabbeinu Yonah wrote Shari Tshuva was to do tshuva for burning like more Nebuchim. And then he says, because we burn more Nebuchim, then the French Dominicans burned the Talmud. Because it was like about 50 or 80 years later. So the rabbis believe that the Gentiles burned our books because we burned our books first. Now, I'm not saying I agree with everything that Mor Nevuchim teaches. Mor Nevuchim is Guide for the Perplexed, people. It's a very difficult, long read. It's the Rambam's philosophical book where he quotes a lot of Aristotle, which, like many Jews were against that form of thinking, but the Rambam was influenced a lot by Islamic culture. And back then, the golden age of Islam, but they were the ones who in some way resurrected the early Stoics, the early like philosophers like Aristotle and Plato, and they kept their work alive, and this is why the Rambam was such a big fan of it. But anyways, okay,
by the way, for that beginning question, I was gonna say there's a good book by Dennis Prager on why Jews don't believe in Jesus. It's a good book.
Oh really? No, because I'm a big. That most people don't know.
I'm a huge Dennis Prager fan. I saw your picture with him.
Yeah, so I'm one of the founders of Prager University. I guess most people don't know that. Not in terms of that I came up with it, but in Israel, I was the head of the Dennis Prager group in Israel over 18 years ago. In the beginning, Dennis Prager had different groups all over the world. So in Israel, like every month, we'd meet in Yerushalayim, and then he'd call in and like speak to all of us. So then I contacted his producer because he was talking about creating Prager University. And I told him, look, I'm a programmer. I'll build it for you and I'll even host it for you here in Israel. So I built Prager University when it didn't exist, and I ran it for 4 years for free till they got so big that they went with some company. So I'm one of the, I guess I could say that makes me, I guess, like an early founder of Prager University. And
no, but I love listening to his differences between Christianity and Judaism. That book, Why Jews Don't Believe in Jesus, is phenomenal.
Right. I've never even heard of it. I mean, but the book I encourage is the 9 questions people ask about Judaism, which is that he wrote it with Joseph Telushkin. I'm going to send you an audio lecture, and I send this to Hebrew Hammer, and I send it to Reuven, which I think got them to realize that I'm not completely crazy. That Dennis Prager...
He sent it to me. I've listened to it.
Oh, so that's why, I mean, you've come around to think that I'm not completely idiotic.
No, we had a whole discussion about it on our own live, and honestly, I don't see people, like other people who listen to it. I feel like they took it the wrong way, as like we want to push it on people. But I mean, the real message of the video is if more people were Jews, the world would be a better place. Or if more people kept the ethics of Judaism, the world would be a better place.
Not really.
That's how I viewed it.
So he encouraged people to take ads out in the newspaper. I don't know, like if you heard that part, that said that if you're looking for a spiritual outlet in your life, if you don't belong to a current religion, you may want to consider becoming Jewish. I mean, this sums up the whole video. I mean, he says that people should take out ads in the newspaper. So he is for proselytizing, but in the same way that I am. And I've been doing this even before I found out that Dennis Prager believed this. But I'm not for telling people they have to become Jewish. I'm just letting them know that if they're looking into I don't know, ethics in life, perhaps they may want to become Jewish. And the bulk of what I do is let people know that it is possible. So, I mean, from that perspective, I don't think I disagree with Dennis Prager. But yes, Dennis Prager is for seeking converts to Judaism. I mean, people don't know what I'm talking about.
So if you heard the live that I did with Yaakov, did you hear what he said with regard to he's glad that I'm a Torah observant Christian?
Yes, I heard that, but it didn't really make sense because then he disagreed with me that I was destroying Judaism by encouraging people to become Jewish.
I know.
No, because they don't like me personally. And I'm not an abrasive person. I'm like very nice. Like, I'm very nice. I mean, I might be politically violent. I guess you guys could look up my name, you know, but like, if you're a religious person, I'm extremely nice. Right? Or if you're a nice person, I'm a nice person. If you're an Antifa person, I want to break a bottle in your head.
Also, funny story, you know, Dennis Prager went to yeshiva with a lot of Syrian rabbis.
But he went to yeshiva Flatbush.
Yeah. Most of the early Syrian Americans went there.
Oh, interesting.
But now it's predominantly a Syrian school.
Yeah. So he's, I don't know. I mean, I guess people would consider him OTD, right? Like,
I don't think so. I think his views on Judaism are great. I know a lot of rabbis will disagree with him because he's so like fascinated by Christianity, and he talks a lot about Christianity as well on his show. But I just think he's just misunderstood. Dennis Prager.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but Dennis Prager drives on Shabbos. You know he does, right?
Yeah, but so to me, I like him because he's well versed. Like, he knows what he's talking about. He's not like, he's not like just, and a lot of Christians love him. I don't know why, but they absolutely adore him. And a lot of people say that they've turned back to religion because of him.
Because he's right wing, and there are a lot of Christians that are right wing.
He's brought more people to religion than anyone alive, because he pushes ethics, biblical ethics, as the foundation of like Western civilization, But there's idiots like this guy, Rabbi Yaron Reuven, who makes videos attacking Dennis Prager and calling him a heretic. Look, you don't have to agree with someone 100%. He also made a video attacking Ben Shapiro, all right? Only because you happen to disagree with like on one thing in Judaism doesn't get you labeled a heretic. I mean, it's not like, first of all, but Dennis Prager doesn't claim to be Orthodox. Okay, I mean Ben Shapiro does.
He grew up Orthodox.
Yeah,
he considers himself conservative now.
I mean, he considers himself a religious Jew. I mean, I don't think he like aligns with any particular movement. But anyways, yeah. Hey, look, I have a picture of Dennis Prager on my desk.
No, I don't like. Maybe I don't agree with so much of his political views. He is far right extreme, but
extreme, really? You think so?
On no, politically, I'm saying, but
no, that's what I mean.
No, he knows what
extreme.
he's talking about. I think so.
I mean, he's very
he's out there. Like he just doesn't care.
You think so? I mean, I'm way to the right of Dennis Prager. Yeah, I'm.
No, you really. I don't know, but he just says whatever. Like, I don't know.
I don't know. I mean,
I like him though. I like his books. I like his Chumash commentary books. Also, I got them. They're not bad.
No, they're great. I mean, not bad. They're
I'm better. I'm gonna read the Haggadah commentary now.
So his commentary is better than Rashi. I love saying things that people don't say because they're too scared to say it. I mean, guy, it's a shame that you can't buy a Chumash nowadays without Rashi in it. I mean, Rashi's Chumash didn't have Rashi, right? The Rambam's Chumash didn't have Rashi.
It's crazy you say that. I didn't go a year in yeshiva without learning Rashi. We did not learn Chumash without Rashi.
You know how many people quote the Chumash and they think they're quoting the Chumash and they're really quoting Rashi? I mean, talk about like being a Baal Tosif, like adding to the Torah. Yeah, so the Rational Bible, people, is the best Torah commentary that exists. Okay, because it's reasonable, it's rational. Yeah, whatever. I mean, and you don't have to agree with the lifestyle perfectly of there's some things that I've heard from Christians comment on the Torah that I've appropriated and set over, because a good idea is a good idea. I mean, some people think. I remember once I donated, because I had a synagogue in North Miami Beach for 2 years, and then I spent most of my time fundraising for my synagogue, and I hated it. So then I donated everything like for my synagogue, including my Sefer Torah, to a small, Temani shul near me, because we were like whatever. I mean, I fancy myself. Temani, whatever. Don't ask. And I gave over like the Hertz Chumash, like a bunch of them over like to the shul. And I went and I found them all in the trash. In the trash, right? Because they're not supposed to throw them, they throw them in the Geniza or something. They threw it mamish in the trash.
Aren't you supposed to bury them?
Not when it has, okay. The Hertz Chumash, is it the Hertz or the Sensino? Well, anyways, I think it's the Hertz, like the old ones that, like before the shuls, switched to Art Scroll. It says on the first page that there's some commentary here from non-Jews. So because of that, they consider it like written by heretics, i.e. tolerated, that if a Jew would tolerate a commentary uttered by a Christian, then the whole book could be tossed on the floor or burned. So I found them all in the trash and I said, what the heck is this? And then I took them back to my house, and it was because of this, because it said that there was some non-Jewish commentaries in it. This was, the Hertz. It's the one by like the chief rabbi of England from 80 years ago, whatever. But it's an opinion in the Haredi Welt. So there you go.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I'm like a database of useless information. Look,
so why did you kick my friend Kat off?
Oh, no, because there was someone else who wanted to come on, and right when I kicked her off, then that person disappeared.
She wanted to ask you a question.
Oh, no, she's welcome. Hold on one second. So someone wrote, what's wrong with Rashi?
Hello, again.
Book of Rashi? Oh, no. But the book of Rashi is what's bothering Rashi. Right? There's like a whole book of these like question and answer books about like what's bothering the Rashi with every parsha. And that's why I got it confused. Okay, welcome, Kat. Are you Russian?
What? Am I Russian?
Yeah. I mean, it's Kat for like
No.
Katrina or Katrina? No. Okay, all right, never mind.
Oh, it's Caitlin.
Okay. Well, that works also.
I was gonna ask you earlier when we were talking, do you believe that God still would like speak to his people today, like a prophet could rise up and speak to his people, or do you not believe that? Do you believe that won't happen ever again?
So I believe that prophecy still exists. There's only one opinion in the Talmud that says that prophecy after the destruction of the second temple was only given to like babies and crazy people. But nowhere in the Torah does it say that prophecy would cease. This is also the opinion of Maimonides, by the way, it's not just mine. However, the job of the prophet is not for God to tell us anything new, but to tell us to go back to what's old. So even if there was a prophet, and I believe there are many prophets, that prophet would be there trying to get Israel to do tshuva, like to repent and go back to, like to get back on track. Not the Islamic understanding of a prophet, which is that a prophet is supposed to give you new information and new revelation. But we don't believe in progressive revelation. Our revelation ended in Deuteronomy. So anything that appears in the prophets is only there to point you back to the initial revelation. So yeah.
So you don't think that Jesus could have been a prophet?
Jesus could
Because
have been a
that's
prophet.
essentially what he did.
So yes, I mean, from that perspective, he for sure could have been a prophet. I would probably deny some things that actually appear in the New Testament as being uttered by Jesus, but just him being frustrated with the same things that I'm frustrated with nowadays, the hypocrisy of religious Jews in many areas, right? And it's nothing new. Yeah, I mean, he was clearly a religious individual who hated people mistreating innocents from that, I don't think a prophet necessarily means that you're on a different dimension. I think anyone who picks up the call of God and tries to get people to do the right thing is doing the role of a prophet. Because truth be told, prophets don't really say new things. In the books of the prophets, you could almost guess what the prophet's going to say. Well, let's see. Israel's worshiping idols. They're mistreating the widow, the orphan, the stranger. It sounds like you're going to go into exile, right? I mean, that's what the Torah says. So the prophet is just reiterating what the Torah says. So essentially, a prophet is just someone who knows the Torah well enough to quote it at the appropriate times, especially back then when that Torahs weren't so plentiful, right? Even though there's a mitzvah for them to write a Sefer Torah, I don't know. I mean, assuming the prophet knew it well enough to quote it at the right time, that's what earned him the stripes as a prophet.
So do you think that it's possible that we would either ruin the earth or that the earth would come to an end at some point?
I don't believe in an end of the world at all, unless we destroy it. Unless we destroy it, and then, any alien out there could still continue existing. Nowhere in the Torah does it talk about the end of the world. The word that's translated as end of days in Hebrew is Aharit Hayamim, which just means in later days. But for some reason, the English translations always have some sort of agenda. So they translate that to mean end of days when it really just should mean in later days. So later days could be tomorrow, could be next week, but it doesn't mean there has to be an end of the world. So from that perspective, I believe there's going to be thousands of temples, and we're going to have hundreds of exiles, because nowhere does it say that the third temple is the final temple. At least in the Torah, it doesn't say that. And anything rabbis have to say on metaphysical issues is disposable. The job of rabbis, i.e. the rabbis in the Talmud, is to give you law, what we call halakha. That's it. This is why there's many, but they can differ on many things in terms of metaphysics in the Talmud, but their goal is to have one din, one final ruling. And most Jews don't study the Talmud like this. I mean, they think that, well, first of all, they haven't read much of the Talmud if they think that the Talmud is monolithic on metaphysical issues, okay? Because it's all over the place. I mean, like Christians know about like Mashiach ben Yosef and Mashiach ben David. Well, the Talmud also talks about Mashiach ben Aaron and Mashiach ben Ephraim, and it's just like, it's all over the place. So anything that a rabbi has to say about metaphysics is disposable. Anything that a member of the Sanhedrin had to say when they voted something into existence about halakha, that's binding forever till you get another Sanhedrin to override it. But we don't have another Sanhedrin, so we're stuck with the laws that appear in the Mishnah.
Not only that, we have no way to establish one.
Well, that's according to Asher Meza.
No, I think that's... Hold on. Sorry.
So Asher Meza says that with the notion that we could create another Beis Din Gadol is the Rambam's opinion. Because the Rambam says, it seems to me that if you got all the Chachamim in Israel to agree to give one person smicha, and that person gave other people smicha, then you could reestablish with the Sanhedrin. But he says, it seems to me, because it appears nowhere like in the Gemara like this. The truth be told, we don't know how to reestablish smicha. Now, I have smicha. I mean, I have 2 smichas, but it's not real smicha. Real smicha ended in the 4th century of the Common Era.
Right.
Any rabbi, and I know you know this, but I mean, for people who don't know, any rabbi who calls themselves rabbi nowadays has a smicha that was invented in Sfat in 1535 of the Common Era. And one of the first people to get this smicha was Rabbi Yosef Karo, the author of Shulchan Aruch. But this is why the Rambam wasn't called Rambam, and Rashi wasn't called Rashi, because nobody called their teachers rabbi back then. They were called Mori, they were called Chacham, because they knew that the term rabbi in Talmudic times meant that you had smicha. So I guess most people don't know this, but yeah, your rabbi is a fake rabbi. Like I'm a fake rabbi.
Hey, brother.
Yeah, hi.
Brother, you know what I see the difference between Judaism is and Christianity? Is Jesus said, you have to believe in me according to the Old Testament, right? The Torah and the prophets before you can receive the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
And I believe the Torah and the prophets were there to bring us to the Holy Spirit. And the only difference is the Torah and the prophets, most people read them according to the letter thinking it's all physical things, right? In other words, you have to be water sprinkled. You have to eat a physical lamb, right? A physical sacrifice. You had to add physical incense, physical fires. But what was the difference is Jesus came and taught us, which I believe is God. I believe Jesus is God. He came and taught us that it's all spiritual. That yes, it's 100% truth. The Torah and the prophets are 100% true. That's why salvation comes from the Jews. But that it's all spiritual. So in other words, there's a spiritual lamb. There's a spiritual incense. There's a spiritual rock tablets. And all those things, I don't want to say there's 600, but all those rituals, laws, and objects were all Jesus Christ in disguise.
Okay.
They were all a shadow of Jesus. Yeah.
So let me push back a little bit here. So how about negative commandments? Is not murdering a spiritual pursuit? Is not stealing a only spiritual pursuit? Honoring your parents. So how do you honor your parents in a spiritual way, and not a physical way?
Okay, now listen. So all the physical things are actually good to do, right? It's good to take a day off a week. So when we get to the negative commandments, which is a good question, it's still the same way. Think about this. If in Corinthians it talks about the rock tablets being a ministry of death. So when you speak the 10 commandments over somebody, you're literally killing them for eternity. You're taking eternal life from them, right? Because you're not giving them the gospel, you're giving them the 10 commandments. So that's murder. So there's a spiritual murder and there's also a physical murder. Now, is it good to eat lamb meat? Absolutely. But there's also a spiritual lamb meat that we need to eat, right? Is there a spiritual water baptism? Yeah. Right? But is it good to take a shower every day? Absolutely. So for the flesh, the Torah and the law are absolutely beautiful for the actual flesh of mankind. But for the spirit and for eternal life, we have to practice this. We have to turn everything spiritual.
Okay. So just to follow along, you're okay and you think it's good to keep the... Hold on. Yeah, but you just think it's important to emphasize that as a Christian, you're saved by faith and not by law. Faith in Jesus, right? Is that what
right? Instead of the physical written, we're actually saved by faith, which is Christ. No, in other words, we believe that everything's in the Torah, but we believe that it's Jesus. The Sabbath day is Jesus. The new moon is Jesus. right? The lamb sacrifice is Jesus. The burnt offerings are Jesus. The 10 Commandments are Jesus. It's all Jesus. It's all the Holy Spirit.
Do you think God still wants you to physically keep Torah laws?
No, I don't think they're necessary.
Yeah,
in fact, in a
a
lot of cases, I would say they're even bad for humanity. They actually turn against you.
Hold on.
Because, for example, the 10 Commandments.
Wait, hold on. I mean, I really want to make sense of what you're saying. Because first, you just praised negative commandments as something that you should do, but now you're saying they're actually bad.
Yeah, because they're bad in this way. Because now you become judgmental and you point the finger. There's no mercy. And so that, as far as the negative commandments.
Yeah, but you said honoring. You said honor your parents is great. Not unaliving people is great. But loving the neighbor as yourself, like not favoring the poor man in judgment, burning the evil from
okay.
Well, even believing God is a commandment. You know.
Okay, so spiritually, our mother and father we're supposed to honor as Jesus Christ in the living church, right? That's our father and mother, and that's good. But if we honor our physical fathers and mothers, that can actually be really bad, especially if they're bad parents. Right? Now, I'm not saying most parents are bad. I'm just saying if they're bad. See, so that's the problem with the written. The written is not 100% correct.
Right,
even though eating a pork meat is actually healthy for the flesh.
All right. Go ahead, Courtney.
Okay, I'm sorry, but you're literally contradicting yourself. You're saying, okay, I understand that you're saying it could become a bad thing to, I guess, honor a bad parent, but why do you feel like you then must do the opposite of honoring a bad parent? Why can't you just maybe not speak to the parent but still give the parent honor? I mean, I don't understand why it's all or nothing.
Well, I'm not saying it. The parents. I mean, we're judging something that we're just kind of coming up with in our mind here. So if you have a bad parent that's trying to kill you or cage you up, right? Like you see sometimes in these news forecasts, you're not going to honor that kind of parent. You're going to run from that kind of parent.
But that doesn't inherently mean that the law is a bad thing.
I didn't say the law was a bad thing. The law, for the most part, is super good for your flesh, because those are all rudiments of this world.
Except for the part where you say that it's bad because it tells you to honor your mother and your father, and this hypothetical situation where this bad mom and bad dad is tying you up and whatever. I mean, that for some reason means that the law is bad. Not the person, but the law, right? That's what you're saying.
Right. Exactly. Because if you obey it strictly, then it's going to lead you to do things that are not good for you, not even healthy for the flesh, that are not even natural.
That's what I'm saying.
We're moving forward. Thank you for stopping by. But yeah. No, I let him talk, and I think being that he repeated himself a few times, he said what he wanted to say. I don't think that he makes a lot of sense. But I'll let people decide. I mean, I can debate someone like this because there's nothing to debate. I mean, it's just that we inhabit different universes. It's okay, fine. Yeah, sorry that I took Courtney wanted to go on beast mode, but
sorry that you took what?
No, like you're prey.
No, I don't understand when people do that. You're talking out of both sides of your mouth. The law is good, the law is bad. Okay, fine. But then you use the most extreme example and blame the law for that rather than blaming the person. That makes no sense. This is someone that's really into Gnostic things that, you take it and you make it something that it's not supposed to be. The book of Rabbis is very Gnostic. I mean, it's
the
it's
message
not
of God
consistent.
Has to be in dummy form, right? I mean, if God cares about people, it can't be so complicated that imagine if you were his student. I mean, you'd have to be calling him for everything. Is this bad? Is this law good or is it bad? Remember, God in the Torah made no distinction between laws. I mean, for him, everything is on the same level. But it's just complicated. It's just and I know that people do it just to be different and, I don't know, sound smart. But I think whenever I see a book that's extremely thick, I mean, I start thinking that the author had a hard time putting his thoughts on paper and had to, I don't know, was in some way long-winded. But when I see a book that's concise, I'm like, this person knows how to think. Clear, short, to the point. But anyways.
Dude, you got to quit kicking my friends. You got to bring them back up.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. It's because I was trying to make room for people.
Yeah, Micah, did you want to come back up and ask a question? I'll step down so that other people can come up.
Oh, my friend Imus is in the house. What's up,
Hey,
Imus?
nothing. How are you?
Oh, good. See, I was talking about the clip that you sent me of like Sheldon.
Oh yeah, I thought you get a kick out of that.
It's like, who am I speaking to, or some crap like that? It's like, you just have to be the best version of Sheldon. First of all, you don't know what Sheldon is. Like, you don't know, like, the little girls he has chopped up in his closet. This idea that if someone's coming to you for growth, ethical growth, that you're just going to tell them just be yourself is primitive advice, okay? Because you don't know who this person is. Perhaps you should assume that the person is looking to grow. The guy is capable of growing. You don't tell people just be yourself, right? I mean, what if the kid's overweight, right? I mean, he wants to be an athlete. No, just be yourself. Nonsense. It's like, What do you think about that, Imus?
I knew that it would bother you, so that's why I sent it to you.
Well, you should just be Imus. Just be Imus. Don't even try to change. I mean, it's kind of like infantilizing the world. It's kind of like, you're not even, I don't want you to try to change because you can't change. I mean, you're never going to be as cool as us. It's stupid. And no one challenges them because, I mean, like, if you challenge a rabbi, then the ADL is sending you dirty emails. All right. Welcome, Servant Charles.
Shalom.
Ooh, shalom.
You believe in Yeshua?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Well, wait. So believe means, like, do I believe he's the Messiah? No. Do I believe he's God? No. Do I believe he existed? I don't know. Maybe.
Okay. So remember how you were just saying how you shouldn't just tell people to live their life, and you should tell them to do get better or teach them how to.
Oh, here it comes.
I'm gonna tell you the same thing. If you want to do better with your eternal security, you need to know Yeshua.
And I appreciate that, by the way.
He does, actually.
And that's it. And that's all I'm gonna say.
And I appreciate that you care about me enough to share that. And I wish Jews would care about Gentiles as much as you cared enough for my soul. Like, not that I believe I'm going to hell, by the way. But we all should care. What?
How do you know I'm a Gentile?
Well, I mean, I didn't say you were Gentiles. I mean, that you were a Gentile, but I said that I wish that
Jews should care more about Gentiles.
Gentiles, correct. I mean, just like you're caring about a Jewish person. I mean, you could be whatever. It doesn't matter.
So what was the Lord given Torah to Israel to do?
Who knows, really? I think that God wants us to make this world a better place, right? Because he says that by you keeping the Torah, the nations of the world are going to look in amazement and say, what a wise and discerning people, i.e. that we should want to join you. But who knows the reason for it all, right? I mean, it makes less sense that just to embellish some human sacrifice that it keeps you in God's presence perpetually. That's more complicated, and probably that really doesn't make any sense. But I think it makes more sense.
If you dumb it down, who's the one that sinned? Did an animal sin or did a human sin?
Yeah, but who set up the standards for heaven and hell according to a Christian? God himself. So I mean, God sets up the standard and has to fulfill his own standard. I mean, it's kind of like he's the problem. No,
it actually shows his grace and favor that he solved the problem. We created it.
Only according to
it's not according to Christians, it's according to the Torah. So, it's not according to us.
I don't consider that, I don't think that that's grace. I think, okay, if you're going to translate the word
you
grace,
don't want my version of this.
No, okay. No, but you guys can hop in later. I don't think grace, in Hebrew, grace is chen. It's not a gift that you don't deserve. I mean, I think humans deserve grace. Deserve it. It's ours. It belongs to us. Because grace is what you give your child. Your child didn't ask to be born. I didn't ask to be born either. Okay? I was made imperfect. That means God is expected to have patience with me. He's expected to forgive my shortcomings. Logically, he is, because he gave birth to me, or he created me, and I wasn't asked to be created. That's not grace. That's justice. What Christianity calls grace, logically and ethically, is justice. So I know most Christians don't articulate it like this and feel like, oh my gosh, I should have been, I was destined for the death penalty, right? But the same God who saved you was the same God who was going to condemn you. So it's a washout. This is why, I think it makes ethically no sense that I should be happy with some gift of grace. It's not a gift of grace. It belongs to you, okay? However, once you know better and you continue to do the wrong thing, then that's a different story.
So I want to respond a little bit because you touched on a couple points. Okay, you touched on grace, you touched on justice, you touched on undeserving, grace, and that he's obligated. He is obligated to do so, right? Because
if he's ethical, yes.
If he's ethical, right. So what we say is that because of the choice that he gave them to make, that the tree of life and the tree of knowledge of good and evil is in their midst, that they may eat freely of it, is, to me, grace and justice, by saying, I created you, and Adam, you fellowshipped with me by naming all these animals that I brought to you. You fellowship with me. We talk. It's not like he did it, he named these. If we want to put a time scale on things, because it says day one. Now, day one to us is 24 hours, but day one to the Lord is 1,000 years. So if day one.
Not going to the Torah, by the way. The Torah doesn't say that. That's only in the book of Psalms, but go ahead.
But you accept the Psalms?
Not like the word of God, I don't.
Okay. Okay. Well, do you believe it's just day one, 24 hours, day one?
Most Orthodox Jews don't believe that, by the way, but I do. I am a six-day creationist, like the Lubavitcher Rebbe, by the way.
What do you think that? Do you think that? How many animals are on this planet? You think Adam can name it all in a day? So I'm saying he spent time with him. That's what I'm cultivating here. That he had a relationship with God, and so when he gives them the option to eat of every tree, there's a stipulation behind it. There's a commandment behind it. There's a mitzvah behind it. Do not eat from this specific tree. Now, justice says we should die because he said, in the day that you eat of it, you will surely die. Grace says he removed them from the presence of the tree of life again so that they don't eat it in their fallen state. They disobeyed a commandment, and God says, in the day that you eat of it, you shall surely die. Right. And so for me, grace comes when he removes them from the presence of God and of the tree of life. And then he clothes them with skin. So Christians are saying that the undeserved merit or the undeserved grace part, I kind of agree with you that we do kind of deserve it because he created us. But then we would have to go back to the garden and say, okay, well, then we deserve to eat of that tree of life in that fallen state and be eternally separated from him.
So I don't believe that we're in some way suffering because of Adam and Eve. Okay. I don't think that God is punishing us or in any way. I don't believe in vicarious merit, and I don't believe in vicarious atonement. Okay. I believe that, the idea that story even has to be there for you to justify us not deserving grace to any extent because someone ate of some apple or fruit.
It wasn't an apple.
Right, fruit. No, I get it. The eights, whatever.
Not him explaining Hebrew to you.
Yeah, so no, it's fine. I just think here, first of all, according to the narrative in the Torah, it doesn't say that the creation story was given to us on Mount Sinai. Okay. Now, it's reiterated, not Adam and Eve, but 6 days of creation, like one day of rest is reiterated. This is why we keep the Sabbath. But the idea that someone should in some way take a legend that appears later, because it for sure was written after the Torah was given, to in some way tell us that we don't deserve a chance when we're born, right? Because I didn't eat of that fruit. I didn't ask to be born. If the narrative is true, Adam walked with God, and I mean, whatever. Eve knew better, and she chose to disobey God.
Right.
I didn't. You didn't. With the idea that you don't deserve mercy,
right,
is unethical.
Okay, well then let's talk about you. Have you had any other gods before God Almighty?
Physical gods? Or no? I mean, not necessarily. I mean,
Have you ever created for yourself an idol?
Come on. I mean, that doesn't count.
But let's talk about it. Have you ever lied before?
Patrick Swayze? I mean, does that count?
No. Well, yeah, it does. If you worshipped him, I mean, think about it.
Maybe.
Have you ever lied before?
Come on, man. Yes, obviously.
The answer to the 10 Commandments is that yes, you've broken them. So going back to it, then yes, you personally are responsible for your own sins, and it is because that you sin. Now you have to stand before a holy God.
Okay, all right.
You know what I mean?
I get.
We'll make it personal. We don't have to talk about Adam and Eve.
No, I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm calm. I'm calm.
I'm calm too, brother. I'm calm.
The only thing you've established is that people sin. People aren't perfect. That's the only thing you've established.
Because of Adam and Eve.
Okay. No. Yeah. I mean, not necessarily.
That's what I'm saying.
They can't keep the standard perfectly. Don't forget, Adam and Eve didn't have a standard apart from just not eating from the fruit. Right?
They had a standard.
Well, that was the standard. I mean, not eating. I mean, like from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Well, that was
that was a mitzvah.
Yeah, I know, but
right.
That was their standard. But they didn't have the Torah standard, which no one could keep nowadays. Trust me. But there's some fruits that I don't even like. Right? I mean, you give me an avocado. I mean, is that a fruit? Whatever. I hate avocado.
Come on. It's not. You know.
No, listen. Okay, so the only thing you've established is that people are not perfect. By the simple fact that God calls imperfect people in the Torah righteous, like David was called righteous, Jeremiah, Daniel, these people are called righteous. But
don't go outside the Torah.
Hold on. No, I know.
I'm just saying though, don't go, because I tried to say a day is like 1,000 years.
So in the Torah, Noah was called righteous. Yes. There's a lot of people who are called righteous in the Torah. Moses
Abraham,
is considered righteous. Okay,
right? Moses, right?
Yeah. But the simple fact that he even brought people back from exile before the time of Jesus means that you could be good enough and righteous enough to please a good God. So this notion of perfection is a later developed idea. The idea that God gives you commandments, he knows. Right. Wait, hold on.
Okay, all right, go ahead.
He gave you commandments that he knows that you could never keep. For over 2,000 years till Christianity said Christianity. That Jesus appeared to in some way set everything straight. For 2,000 years, like people were just dying in their sins.
No.
Okay, go ahead.
No, but I'm just saying they weren't. No, they weren't. They weren't just dying in their sins.
All right, so David was righteous, right? And David didn't have Jesus. Jeremiah was righteous. Jeremiah didn't have Jesus.
Okay, but what did Jesus say, though? Jesus said that he is before all of them. And Paul further expounds on that he died before the foundations of the world. So the fact that they were considered righteous.
The New Testament says. I mean, that's not what my Bible says. The Quran says anything about Muhammad. Here, listen.
No, bro,
the burden of proof. The burden of proof is on the New Testament. It's not on us.
No, it's not.
If you're going to say that Jesus existed before Abraham was I am, right? You have to prove it from my Bible. I don't even believe in the New Testament. So it's hard for a good God to then condemn me to hell just because I happen to not endorse the theological tenets of a book made popular by the Holy Roman Empire. I mean, can you really blame me?
Yeah, I can blame you.
I mean, think about it a little. Don't respond so quick.
Wait. If you're saying that you don't believe that in the Old Testament God cannot manifest himself to his people without saying that, the New Testament has to prove itself. In the Old Testament, did not God speak and did not God reveal himself?
Yes, he did.
Okay, so
isn't that what Shekinah is?
What's up? What did she say?
Like a physical manifestation of God, isn't that what Shekinah is? Or
right, the Shekinah, you mean? Like is that what we're talking about?
What?
With the Shekinah?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think God did appear to people in human form. The Torah. Apart from the Shekinah, that was more like an aura essence. Yeah. All right, go ahead, Servant Charles.
Well, I was saying that he physically revealed himself to Abraham. Physically showed up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fine. Okay.
And then Jesus quotes that same place to say that Abraham saw my day and rejoiced in it.
Okay, but that's in the New Testament. It's not in the Jewish Bible.
Okay, I understand that, but what I'm saying is that, Yeshua ben David or Yeshua ben, Joseph quoted the Old Testament.
All right. Muhammad also quoted the Old Testament too, and Joseph Smith.
And the
Dalai Lama. We know that he likes his tongue getting sucked.
They're all fake. Okay, they're all fake. I'm not worried about them. Jews and Christians are kindred. Okay, anything, even the Muslims. The Quran says, "Go to the people of the book. Go to the Torah. Go to the Injil." So go to the people who came before them. So I ain't worried about them. What came before is the Jewish, the Old Testament, the scriptures. All the times in the New Testaments, when you see in the scriptures or the scriptures, it's talking about the Old Testament. We know that. We don't discredit or discontinue reading it.
Do we?
It's the Hebrew Bible. Let's call it the Hebrew Bible.
Do we now?
All right, we can call it the Hebrew Bible.
Listen.
Sure, that's fine.
I'm not trying to attack you for believing in Jesus. I'm actually glad you believe in Jesus because it's brought you to where you are now. It's made you who you are. You sound like an ethical individual who looks for truth, and I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I just don't think that it's necessary to please a good God, because God told us how to please him in the Torah. He said by keeping his law, we'll be his treasured people. So this is why the Jewish people throughout the ages tried to do just that, keep his law. Right now,
try.
No, fine. No, that's fine. Right. But you acknowledge that in the Bible that you believe, that's part of the Hebrew Bible, God considered them righteous when they were keeping that law and not righteous when they weren't. Right. And this is before Jesus. So, I'm sure you acknowledge that at least. Right.
Yes, I acknowledge that.
Fine. So I don't care if you believe that Jesus is the Messiah. I think that if there's a heaven, right, you're going to be there. That's it. I believe that. You don't offer me that courtesy because I think God separates the world between people who keep his law and people who don't keep his law. Right? I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt because you said that you're Jewish or something. Whatever. I don't.
No, how could I? How do you know that I'm a Gentile? But let's talk about what is.
Is it like your rhetorical statements? All right.
No, I wasn't born into a Jewish family, but we don't know. Deep in my blood, I might have descendants. But what I was trying to get at is that what is the main, what does it boil down to? What did the law that
ethics.
What's that? No, the law.
Ethics.
The law. What was the law?
Ethics? Ethics.
No. What does it boil? Okay, ethics. Sure, you're right. What did?
You want me to give you your response?
No. I'm not.
Tell us that we can't keep it perfectly and that we need.
No. It's not that. Okay, because he said we fulfill the law in love, right? So ethics is right. If you love your God with all your heart, mind, body, strength, and soul, and if you love your neighbor, then you do fulfill the law. So all of it. So
fulfilling not eating kosher. By loving your neighbor, just wipe it clean. How about not favoring the poor man in judgment? How about honoring your parents? How do you honor your parents by loving somebody else?
You would love them. You would love them too.
But why? Honoring your parents.
Right.
Oh, you're saying that it falls under honoring your like loving your neighbor?
Everything falls under love. Everything.
If you love ceremonial laws that we don't even know why we keep, right? How does keeping the Sabbath fall under love?
How does it fall under love?
Yeah.
because you're loving God with all your heart, with all your mind, with
Yeah,
all
but
your
it's not
body.
okay. Hold on, wait a minute.
You know what
All
I'm saying? By keeping the Sabbath, you're obeying.
All right. So with that line of reasoning, if you love God, you wouldn't eat pork.
Okay. Sure. Okay.
All right. So then you have to keep all the laws, whether you like boil them down to 2. All you're trying to say is that I have no time to enumerate 613 laws, so I'm just going to tell you, if you love God, keep his commandments. I mean, that makes sense.
No, well, you know the commandments. I don't entirely. That's, you know what I mean? So when I say...
you muted yourself.
So I keep getting phone calls.
Oh, I hear you. I mean, I want to be convinced, man. Like, I want to be convinced. Because I think I'll be more liked in the Christian community than the Jewish community. But I'm just not convinced. And trust me. I'm willing to convert to Islam tomorrow, like if I felt that it was a better path.
You're not going to convert to Islam.
What do you mean? I mean, I like falafel, I like shawarma, right? And they're all about that. You know, polygamy. I mean, I don't know.
Okay, so let me ask you something. Polygamy. Let me ask you something. So
Andrew Tate is a Muslim, you know, and I fancy myself a top G. You know, so I mean, I think I could roll in Dubai in a Bugatti.
I literally can't.
Yeah.
Stop it.
So
all right, top G's in the house. Hold on. I mean, Hebrew Hammer.
Falafel is Coptic Christian, by the way. It's not.
Is it?
Yeah, Coptics developed falafel.
And pita?
Yeah.
I mean, how about pita?
I don't know where shawarma comes from exactly, but just falafel comes from the Coptics. Yeah.
And gefilte fish. I mean, that's for sure Jewish.
Gefilte fish is definitely ours, and I don't think anyone else wants to fight us for it.
No, thank you.
Yeah, I think everyone's fighting to not be the owner of gefilte fish. No, you take it. No, you take it.
You know, with the little crane on top, it could be pretty good.
I love gefilte fish. Don't get me wrong, I love it. I think it's great, but you know, it's one of those foods that you either love it or you hate it. There's really no middle ground.
But it's different if you eat it like by the loaf or in the jar. You would like the gelatized, all that gelatized mackerel. That's kind of nasty.
But my grandfather used to have the fish in his bathtub.
Oh, right. So Hasidim do this. I mean, even today.
Yeah.
Hasidim do this because they don't want the water that the fish is eating, I mean, to be like chametz. I mean, it's on Passover. I mean, they do this. I mean, it's not all year round, right? I'm pretty sure. Anyway.
So real quick before I leave, man, you're encouraged to go to Islam and read a different book, but not encouraged to read the New Testament and incorporate it with the Old.
Ooh. No, I didn't say that. No, I would convert to Christianity tomorrow if I felt it made me a better person. Here, look, I would be disingenuous as an apologist, as a scholar, if I'm not willing to drop my religion, right, and change. And it sounds to me like you didn't come onto this show with that same attitude. It sounds like you were just here to give over a monologue, and there's nothing I could have said to convince you, which is kind of disheartening, you know, because you're not committed to change. And I've been Jewish for over 25 years. I don't think I'm going to go anywhere. But trust me, I mean, I'm not loved by the Jewish people, and my life would be easier as a Muslim for sure. Okay? I mean, I probably wouldn't be making
it. Don't speak
for
all the Jewish people. Don't blanket statement all the Jewish people.
Yeah. No. I mean, I for sure would be making less money if I converted to Islam. You know, yeah. I mean, Jews take care of themselves. But it's whatever. I mean, it's a burden sometimes. Just dealing with Jews. And Jews know it also. I mean, it's not like, they're not the easiest people to deal with. So what are you going to do? Well, anyway, servant charge, thank you. I mean, I think a Hebrew Hammer may intimidate you a little bit. That's where you want to go.
I'm just listening.
I'm not intimidated by no man.
Ooh.
No, I'm not trying to intimidate. So
I don't know why you said that.
No, that's fine. I'm sorry.
He was trying to instigate. See, that's why Jews
sometimes I have that effect on people, but I usually go after Muslims much harder than I go after Christians, depending on how hard the Christian is coming in. So you're kind of chill and relax. I don't agree with anything you're saying, but you know, you're chill and relaxed, so it's all good.
It's not that you don't agree with me. I take the side of Yeshua, so it's that you don't agree with Yeshua, and that's between you and Yeshua.
I don't even believe Yeshua existed. I think it's a made-up compilation of various ancient stories that were put together to create this figure to carry on this idea of the New Testament and Christianity. But I don't believe any of it.
And then they
None
all
of it.
died. They all died for it, right?
Yeah, I don't believe any of that nonsense.
I like
to be
this
honest
guy.
with
I'm
you.
following him.
Yeah, I don't believe any of that. The idea that another human being would die for our sins. First of all, in Judaism, we have a clear distinction between intentional and unintentional sin, and there's different paths to what you would call salvation, though that's a very goitastic word. What we would call more like repentance. There's a different path for intentional and unintentional sin. And it makes very clear in the Torah that no man will die for the sins of his father, no father will die for the sins of his son. So we didn't need Jesus to die for our sins at all, because we have a path, we have a framework that tells us what to do in the case of sin. So the idea that some random dude came by thousands of years after the Torah was revealed, or 1700 years after the Torah was revealed, to give us this whole new framework about dying for sin, it just contradicts the Torah directly. Now listen, if that's what you believe and that makes you happy, and like Asher says, if that makes you a good person, then that's great. That's awesome. Because all the Jews really care about is goodness and justice.
Right, but Christians don't.
That's one of the reasons I have such a problem with Christianity, or a difference, is I don't believe simply believing in a mythical divine figure makes you good or bad. It just means you believe in something. I think what makes you good and bad is your behavior and your ethics. Are you a good son, a good father, a good husband, a good community member, a good friend? I think these are the things. Someone can come up to me and say, I believe in Jesus. It tells me nothing about that human being and what kind of behavior they are, what kind of ethical behavior they have. They could believe in Jesus and be a wonderful human being. They could believe in Jesus and be a complete a-hole. It doesn't tell me anything, but for the Christian, believing in Jesus is like, that's it, man. That's the pinnacle. That's the summit of K2 right there, right? But it doesn't tell you if they're a good person. So I want to know, are you a good person?
What does the Old Testament say?
We can only know through their behavior, because none of us can read minds and none of us can jump into the heart of another human being and determine their intent. It doesn't matter.
What does the Old Testament say about anybody that's on this earth as a good person?
I don't know. You tell me. The Old Testament is a Christian book. I don't care about what it says. I care about what the Torah and the Tanakh say.
Okay, what does the Psalms say? He says that no one is good, and he says that all have gone astray. So the Christian value believes that just because we're a Christian, we're still not good. The heart is desperately wicked. Who can know it, right? You know, David said, "Create in me a clean heart," right? So nobody's good on this earth. No Christian believes that they are good.
Well, don't say no Christian. Don't say no Christian, because you don't speak for all Christians.
I speak for true followers of Yeshua. I speak for true followers of Yeshua that they will.
His name's not even Yeshua. It's Yeshu.
His name is Yeshua.
No, it's Yeshu. He doesn't even get his name right.
Do you believe now? Are you correcting me on a name that you don't believe?
I'm correcting you on a translation of a name that you don't seem to know.
Are you correcting me on a name that you don't believe, or do you believe?
What does belief to do with that?
I believe.
Because he said he didn't believe in Yeshua.
I believe the name Jesus translates to Yeshu. That's what I believe.
So Joshua's name is Yeshu?
Joshua is not the same as Jesus. They're two different names.
Okay, what's Joshua's name in Hebrew?
Asher, what's Joshua's name in Hebrew?
Yehoshua.
There you go.
Yehoshua.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
His name wasn't Yehoshua, by the way.
His name was Yeshua.
Right. Which is an Aramaic form. Fine. So Yeshua is how he appears in the Talmud. Yeshua note 3.
It doesn't matter to me your belief system as long as you're a good person. And I don't think you're automatically a good person because you believe in X, Y, or Z. Just like I don't believe someone who says, I believe in the God of the Torah, the God of Israel, that makes them a good person. That's belief. That's not how I was taught or how I was raised as a Jew, which is to focus on the ethics and the morals of the here and now, not for any reward that I will.
No, he froze.
Good now. Oh, sorry. Am I frozen still?
No, you're back. What if I told you it was
God wants me to be a good husband because he wants me to be a good husband to my wife because it's the right thing to do, not because I'm going to get some just reward in the hereafter. He wants me to be a good father to my children because it's the right thing to do.
Using what you said, I'm telling you, it's ethically right to believe in Yeshua.
Okay, and I'm telling you, it's ethically unimportant.
I'm just saying. Listen, like you're focused on the good person.
See, this is the thing.
It's fine.
That's an opinion, and that's fine that you have that. Oh, he left. All right.
Yeah, no.
It's okay to have that opinion.
Just to keep it going.
That's not objective.
No. Yeah.
That's not objective. That's subjective. And again, it's okay for you to believe that, but that's a subjective belief. That's not objective. You know what's objective? What the Torah says. That is objective. Comes from God, if you believe in God. Everything else after that is subjective. Even prophets and the writings of the prophets is subjective to a certain degree because that's their interpretation of their interaction or their communication with God. Only the Torah is the objective standard by which we are supposed to behave and act. I'm about to go under a bridge here, so I might lose you for a second.
So how I was trying to understand that gentleman who was just speaking. How is it our fault that Adam and Eve committed something a long time ago? How is that my fault? How does that make me guilty of what they have done? That's kind of like illogical. Let's say you, Asher, go and doing something. You steal $50, and then 20 years down the road, your son gets blamed for it. That's not really justice. I mean,
no, I hear you, but where does it really say? I mean, apart from women, giving birth in pain, but where does it say that you were in some way condemned to hell because of what Adam and Eve did? I mean, that's just Christian doctrine.
I couldn't find it. Yeah, I can't find it. I don't think it does. I'm just saying, like, that logic just kind of faulty in itself, At least in my opinion. I mean, maybe he has a different source that he uses. I don't know, but.
All right, so somebody keeps on asking me, like, in the chat.
I would say I think that is objective fair. And again, I get this objectively from the Torah, which is this idea that I should suffer. God doesn't want us to suffer, okay? The same God that commands Jews, or at least the people reading the Torah, to be happy, to rejoice, right? And Asher, you know this better than I do, and it's one of the things Dennis talks about a lot, right? Is how we're intended to be happy. Happiness is a requirement, and what is it that the Talmud says? That when we die and we have to answer to God, he'll ask us why we didn't partake in all the non-prohibited things to the most of why didn't we participate or enjoy all the things we were allowed to do that we weren't prohibited from doing. The same God that wants me to be happy and good, who can then turn around and say, okay, you're going to suffer because someone 3,500 years ago did something naughty. Like, it falls apart rationally. It doesn't make sense to suffer for someone else's wrongdoing. It just doesn't. On an individual level, collective level, like societal sin, societal punishment, that's a different story altogether. But on the micro level, that I'm going to suffer because Asher maybe did something 35 years ago that God thinks, no, I don't. And then I don't expect Asher to suffer for me because I was a schmuck when I was in my early 20s. Sounds like you're
proselytizing.
Doesn't make sense.
That's it. I mean, so with that speech, I think you've encouraged like 5 people to convert to Judaism already. So consider yourself part of the part of the Christian.
I'm with you, man. You know I'm with you on this, and you know that I stand up and I am in disagreement with a lot of the people in my group of friends. I think it is objectively true that if everyone in the world followed the Torah, the world would be an infinitely better place. Like, I don't see how anyone could argue against that, except like obviously true believers of their own thing. But if you just look at it rationally, take away your dogma, take away your own religious beliefs. I don't expect atheists to understand this at all. So forget atheists. But it is objectively true that following, at the very least, the 10 Commandments strictly would make the world a better place. I just don't see how there's an argument for that. And so I like what you do. I don't necessarily agree with everything you say, but the genesis, let's say, of what you're doing, I'm cool with. Totally. And I've come around on that, by the way. I was strictly, in the normal standard Jewish frame of mind, which is we don't proselytize, we don't chase convert, yada, yada, yada. Again, you and I have a different opinion about, what conversion, all that stuff means. But the idea that bringing people to Judaism, I'm good with. 100%. I like it. I like it a lot.
There's nothing wrong with it. If somebody wants to convert, let them convert. I mean, hey, I don't know how the details, how you guys plan to do it, but hey, doesn't bug me, whatever.
Just think of the Dalai Lama, but like remove the tongue and the lip.
That's a lot.
You know what's so sad? As soon as you bring up the Dalai Lama now forever, that's the first thing that anyone's going to remember now. Like anything he might have done good in his past, that's it. He wanted to suck a little kid's tongue. That's all we're going to remember now.
It was like priest. Like a bad Catholic priest, they messed it up for everybody, for every priest. You think Catholic priest, you think,
Yes.
But that's wild what you did, though. That is wild. I'm not going to lie.
Oh, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Somebody said it's like their form of greeting. I'm like, that's a wild form of greeting somebody.
Touching each other.
Yeah, but why now? You know what I mean? Why hasn't he been doing this forever? And why did he do it in secret? He didn't know he was being filmed. Like that was the whole thing. He thought it was private.
Is if that's what he does in public, what's he do in private?
Fair point.
I'm a big fan of like 7 years in Tibet, right? But I don't know what's his ethical claim to fame. What did the Dalai Lama ever do apart from being the spokesman for Tibet and exile in India? Right? I mean, okay, Mother Teresa did a lot of good things, but the Dalai Lama is just
Mother Teresa was a horrible woman and a racist and an anti-Semite and really awful. She wasn't that great.
I think for the most part, her good deeds outweighed her bad deeds.
And that's fair enough. That's fair enough. But she wasn't great in this perfect sense of the word. She had her Gandhi. He was a little off the wall. He was a little weird. He had some goofy shit going on too.
See, Billy.
12-year-old.
All right, I gotta go. We're going to dinner with some friends on the strip.
All right.
So later.
I
Bye.
Take care, Hammer.
Did I miss my turn?
Is that like a GPS? It's like he has a Jewish voice in the GPS. Like a woman yelling at him. It's fun. I had a GPS once, and I put a South African accent. There's something like a nice South African or Australian accent, or Irish, like a woman yelling at you in Irish. Irish accent, not in Gaelic.
I think Judaism has interesting things. I'm not gonna lie. I've studied it for quite a bit, and I think the notion, at least in some groups of Judaism, they don't seem to have a notion of eternal punishment.
Well, the truth be told, in virtually every Orthodox notion they do. I'm more of a rationalist, but I'm not going to deny that virtually. Some questions in the live because people were asking me questions. Do I go to Mincha Marv every day? I daven Mincha every day. I don't daven Marv every day. Most people know that Marv is what's called a reshut. It means it's optional. But I daven quicker and the shorter version of the Amidah. So you don't have to go to shul every day for Mincha Marv. You don't have to. Unless you're a Kabbalist and you think you have to say Kaddish to give someone an Aliyas Neshama, which I don't believe in either. I don't practice Kabbalah, and I'm not. I'm a modern Orthodox Yid.
So I know that there's a concept of the 12 months thing where somebody dies and they pray for them, but is there a concept of eternal punishment? Because that 12 months thing doesn't seem to be eternal. It just seems to be a period of cleansing in a sense,
Yeah. So You're Jewish, right? I mean, because you know this stuff. Most people don't know this.
Well, okay. So on my dad's side, his grandma was Jewish. I'm Ukrainian, so but she couldn't be.
Smrt kommunistom.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. Yeah, because my grandma had to go through a lot of things. She couldn't even keep her actual. They couldn't even practice, out in the open or keep their last names and stuff. So they had to switch to that Russian last names and stuff like that. So that was a whole other story.
12 months, 11 months. So there's a Mishnah in Etiyot. I mean, it says that the soul suffers 12 months in some sort of purgatory or something in Gehenna. However, I mean, the rabbis teach that we only mourn for 11 months, so no one could think that the person you're mourning for is such a Rasha, like such an evil person or misguided person. I don't know. Yeah. So, in terms of eternal punishment, it also appears there's no monolithic understanding on metaphysical issues. Like Hebrew Hammer was talking about Yeshu. So there's an individual that appears in the Talmud, also in the Zohar, called Yeshua Notzri. I don't think it's the same Jesus, but some people say it is. And they think that he's boiling. In Hebrew it says Soar Rotachat, like boiling excrement for eternity. That's the outcome.
I have a question.
Like heretics. I'm not saying I believe that. I'm just saying that it appears there like that. Hi, what's up, Landry?
Makes sense. I see what you're saying. Okay.
Hi. I have a question regarding, you say he can become Jewish and that. Why did in 1948 the Ashkenazi Jews started killing all the Palestinians and all the Christians, Muslims and Christians, wiped them all off and pushed them out of Palestine? And you're telling me, why didn't they tell them, oh, you guys can be Jewish? Why did they kill them, massacre them?
So I'm not in any way endorsing your statement. There's a difference between religious Jews and secular Jews. The Jews of the settlers that were there mainly in 1948, right, that made up the populace of that little portion that was allotted to the Jews by the British weren't religious. They were atheistical for the most part. I don't believe they were, in some way unaliving people in an unethical manner. I believe they were protecting themselves because they were, again, attacked. After the establishment of the State of Israel, Israel was attacked by Arab armies. They weren't the aggressor then, and they weren't the aggressor later either. In 1967, they knew the Arabs were going to attack, so they preempted the attack. So Israel was always under defense. This show is not about politics. But you can be anti-Israel and still be Jewish. I don't, I think the land belongs to whoever wins that fight. That's it. So far, the Israelis are winning. Now, I do support, but not for religious reasons.
There was this Christian guy. He didn't believe Jesus was God. So he went to a Jewish synagogue. He said, I think I'm Jewish because I don't believe Jesus is God, just like you. And he's like, I want to be Jewish and I want to join you, come to your synagogue and everything. Then the Jewish rabbi said to him, is your mother Jewish? He said, no. He said, then he can't join us. So then he became Muslim.
That's a false story. That's, no Jewish rabbi who's Orthodox, let's say, would ever say that because we believe in conversion.
Okay. Why is second one. Why in Hollywood? Hollywood is owned by Jews and is run by Jews, all the studios.
Oh, man.
Why they don't give any part to anybody else? They have to be Jewish. Every actor is Jewish.
I want to strive to be honest and accurate. So it's correct that Jews are disproportionately represented in Hollywood. But these are not religious Jews. These are unaffiliated Jews. Jews who don't keep Shabbat, who don't keep Torah. So they don't speak in behalf of the children of Israel. So I don't know what you want me to say.
All right. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. Sorry. Okay.
Hello.
Hi. Welcome, Rich.
Thank you. I just wanted quickly to come up and say that today is the Holocaust Day in Israel. And for him to say such things, especially on the Holocaust Day in Israel, is mind-blowing.
Yeah, but he's not Jewish.
Excuse me?
I mean, he's not Jewish. So you can't expect people who are not Jewish to, I mean, even know about Yom HaZikaron
He knows. He's just very pro-Palestine. I just know him from other lives. So I just wanted to come up and say that, there is a limit to what one would say, especially in such a day.
Oh, I don't get offended from it.
No, you don't?
I mean, it's Yom HaShoah. I mean, why should I get offended?
I do. Yeah.
It's my job to educate them and to be kind to them. And I mean, I think that the way to make people pro-Israel is by encouraging them to drop Islam and drop Christianity and consider becoming Jewish themselves. I mean, that's the best way to do it. Even though most Jews don't like doing that, there's nothing in halakha that prohibits it. I think it's a waste of time trying to debate Israel-Palestine. You're not going to convince these people because they're not moved by logic. So just like they're moved mainly by religion, change their religion. If they become Jewish, 9 out of 10 times they're going to love Israel. So
yeah, 100%. God bless. I'm just saying that for him to understand it from my perspective, right? So it gives another perspective to a person that just wants to hate for no reason.
Yeah, I don't think the world owes Jews anything. That means if anyone has a misunderstanding about Jews, it's our fault. That means we have to teach them. Okay, they don't know. Like the last thing that's going to get them on your side is insulting them and saying.
How do you teach someone that is hateful towards Jewish people?
Well, why are they hateful? Right. I mean, it's clearly, bad information. But I think pain plus blame equals hate. So I acknowledge when he said certain things that it's true that Jews are disproportionately represented. Not that all of Hollywood is Jewish. They're disproportionately represented in Hollywood, disproportionately represented in the banks, disproportionately represented in the media, like the news stations and stuff like that. But that doesn't speak for Torah. The vast majority of Jews who are religious are poor, okay? Compared to secular Jews. And they don't even care about politics. They're probably, right-wing, but they're not the ones that these people dislike. So then first I get them to realize that there's some Jews who are not political. Some Jews who just want to be decent people and this and that. So they're able to acknowledge that there's some good Jews and there's some bad Jews. I don't care if he's pro-Israel or not. I like honesty. So if he's going to come here and give incorrect information, I'll try to correct that. Right. But it's not, it's not my field. My field is religion. So I really just like talking religion and Torah. There's other people like Hebrew Hammer, who's very knowledgeable in Israeli politics and whatever. But thank you for coming on the show. You're Israeli?
Yeah, I am. So actually, one more question, if you don't mind.
Sure.
How do you answer to those people that say, "Oh, you're not a real Jew"? That they're trying to hurt our background and identity or whatnot, and they say you're not a real Jew because you live in Israel, and
because
the
you're
Torah
white
says you're not allowed to live in Israel, and they make all this nonsense and false accusation. How would you answer that?
So this is confusing. Because first I thought you were talking about like black Hebrew Israelites, but now it sounds like you're talking about the Torah Karta.
No. No, just those people that come into those arguments, they start political, but then they would say something like that. How would you answer that?
I haven't heard of anyone say that you're not Jewish because you're not allowed to live in Israel. Well, the only people who say that are like Satmar and Neturei Karta.
Really? So I guess you're not in many AP conflicts or debates. That's why.
Yeah, probably. Okay. I know black Hebrew Israelites will say that you're not Jewish because you're not black. But the only Jews who believe that the Jews shouldn't be in Israel, and even, in Israel, like if you go to Me'asharim and Geula, that's where Neturei Karta lives, and Satmar. So they're in Israel also, but they teach that they were there before it became a state, and they actually were against it, was against Israel becoming a state. I don't know, like if I would have been against it also, because it's whatever. Are you Christian?
No, I'm Jewish. I'm Israeli Jewish.
Yeah, but I'm sorry.
I don't know why they're thinking it's French.
Yeah. I read Church Israel, but it's
no, it's Chuchi.
Chuchi. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no problem.
But you're Moroccan?
I thought it was church as well too when she first joined. I was like,
No, I'm not Moroccan. Yeah, look at the comments. See?
Interesting. Yeah, so in terms of what Neturah Karta has to say about Israel, they have a point, right? And I'm not Neturah Karta. My best friend happens to be Satmar. But it's a problem to have a state called Israel when it's secular, all right? I mean, it's a problem. Although I lived in Israel for 5 years. I mean, I made Aliyah, and I made Aliyah as a Zionist, and I left as a non-Zionist, just because whatever. I mean, I became disillusioned. Yeah, but they, like Satmar and Neturah Karta, in the Talmud it says that there's 3 oaths that Israel took before they went into Galut. And one of those oaths was that they wouldn't war against the nations of the world and, like, in some way enter Jerusalem like a wall, it says. And that's essentially what we did. So there's people like Rabbi Kahana. Rabbi Meir Kahana said that after the Holocaust, the Jews were allowed to in some way break their oath because, like, the Goyim broke their oath. Because one oath that the Gentiles took, according to this Midrash, was that they weren't going to torment us. So I don't really care about this argument, but the Torah specifically says that God will only bring you back to Israel, like, if you do teshuvah. So the vast majority of Jews in Israel aren't religious. Like, where in Israel do you live?
I live in Canada now. I live in Canada and the United States, but I was born and raised in Israel.
Where in Israel?
North, near Haifa.
Oh, okay. All right. So that's not so religious there. So most Jews, I mean, if you ever, in Yerushalayim, you think everybody's religious, but up there, it's just a lot of Arabs.
Oh, yeah. There are many secular people in Israel, but nevertheless, even if the country is secular, we're still Jewish in my books, right?
Yeah.
Because Judaism is an ethno-religion.
Oh, so that I disagree with. So.
Oh, okay. You disagree with that? Okay.
I agree, but that you don't have to believe in God to be Jewish. I mean, al pi halacha, you're Jewish. That means your kiddushin is valid. If you wanted to marry a Jew, you could. I could write a ketubah and be Masada Kedushin. Hold on. My picture changed. Fine, whatever.
Mona Lisa is good too. Yeah.
It's like hashkacha pratis. However, the reason I don't call it an ethno-religion is because right when you mention the word religion, you're mentioning God. I mean, essentially, right? So I don't think God considers secular Jews Jewish. According to halakha, you're Jewish. That means you're legally Jewish. But if you don't believe in God, I'm not saying you don't believe in God, but Karl Marx, Trotsky, these people were halakhically Jewish, but they weren't religiously Jewish.
Yeah, when I say Jewish, secular Jews, it's not necessarily that they are atheists, right? Some of them do believe in God. They practice some of the commandments, one would say maybe agnostic, but nevertheless, I believe they're still Jewish.
There you go. Your Herzl with the beer.
Oh, Herzl. Nice. Just for me.
He has a gold star. Yeah, no, so Jewish.
You believe in Jesus, not Jewish. What? No. Someone in the comments.
Yeah, so.
No, believing in Jesus for me as a Jew is idolatry. So no. With all due respect.
In that case, I wouldn't say that person is an atheist. I mean, most Jews are traditional. I mean, they keep Shabbat, exactly. They'll go to their family's house and they'll eat. I mean, they're like, I don't know, like in the Talmud, they're called Amcha. Like they're like, I don't want to say Amarartzim because that sounds like disrespectful. But they're like simple traditional, like most Sephardim, they're like traditional. They're not atheists, right? But if someone really doesn't believe in God, like, I don't know, Tami Lapid or people from Shinui, like all these different groups in Israel that are like very pro-Palestinian, and they're like, I don't know how God could consider them part of the covenant, right? They're ethnically Jewish, but they're not religious. I mean, being an ethnic Jew has nothing to do with my religion, right? God doesn't consider them Jewish. So this is why I don't call it an ethno-religion, although, yes, they're still Jewish, but that doesn't, I mean, someone could be born Jewish who's an atheist. Does that mean that my religion counts him as Jewish? I don't know. I mean, halakha does, but halakha is Jewish law. I mean, it's not from the Chumash, which is really the word of God, but whatever.
Okie doke. Thank you so much for bringing me up. Toda rabba.
Okay, and bye.
Bye.
Take it easy. Bye-bye. Okay, they are apicorsin. So some say, I'm not even sure where they got this from, that to be a real apicorus, you have to know something. I don't. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it comes from Epicurean. It's not even a Jewish word, but Judaism is an ethno religion. Judaism is not an ethno religion. Okay, there's an ethnic component to the Jewish people, but the religion has nothing to do with blood. By the simple fact that we have the term karet. The term karet in the Torah means that you're cut off. You're cut off from your people. Right? You know, I mean, how can you be Jewish and still be considered the people of God? Assuming you mean by saying an ethno religion, like God in some way acknowledge your existence as a Jewish person. He does not. Halakha does, but God doesn't. If you're Jewish after Isaac. The soul is forever in act. I don't believe in that. Simpson's character. That's, but you're Lubavitcher. So yes, if you believe in Chelek Elokam Mimal Mamish, then of course you're going to disagree with me. What do you think about the well-known Mossad operative? Okay, I need to know that. What is the difference between children of Israel, bloodline, and Jews? What is the difference between the children of Israel, the bloodline, and Jews? I don't. Okay. Why am I not Chabad? Yeah, my son goes to Chabad. My son's in LEC here in South Florida, but I'm not a big fan of the Tanya. About the Rebbe being Mashiach, I obviously don't believe the Rebbe's Mashiach, but I don't think that idea is as destructive as thinking that the souls of Gentiles come from the Sitra Achra and from the unclean Klipot and all this stuff. I think that's very destructive. Are you a Rav of a shul or something? I used to be. I had my own shul in South Florida for about 2.5 years in North Miami Beach. So now I just do this on the side. So there's someone in Florida. Awesome. I'm in Fort Lauderdale / Hollywood. Man, I've been going on for like 3 hours already. Guys, am I Latino? Yes. My family's from Colombia. I'm born in America. I guess I'm an Israeli because I'm an Israeli citizen. I made Aliyah. But yes, I am Colombian or whatever. North Miami. Okay. Greetings.
Hey.
Hi. So someone says they go to yeshiva in South Beach. So you're in Landau? I mean, what other yeshiva? Maybe Talmudic University? There aren't too many yeshivas in South Beach. I don't think there's a Chavetz Chaim in South Beach. There was a Chavetz Chaim for a little while on 41st Street. Yeah, Landau. Yeah. So you're Lubavitch.
Are you going to be on much longer?
I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, time flies here.
Yeah.
But
I've been on for hours.
I know, right? Should just give up. I should give up. Yeah. Okay. Fine. You've convinced me.
Okay.
All right, guys. Thank you for stopping by. Like well, I guess you don't gotta like it now. Yeah, but follow the host. Okay, follow the host. Do you debate when you go to Chabad? No, of course not. I mean, I don't debate anyone in my community. Okay, I mean, I have to live here. Okay. On that note.